Nepal's Election Commission ensures secure ballot transport and transparent voting as candidates intensify campaigns ahead of March 5 elections. 23,000 plus polling centres to be monitored by Nepal's Election Commission ahead of March 5 parliamentary vote to ensure transparency. Ministry of Foreign Affairs leads coordinated effort to free Nepalese detained in overseas online scams. Srinagar checkpoint in western Nepal witnesses parallel journeys as Nepalese return to vote or depart for employment overseas. Iran denies current US President Trump's claims of missile development, reaffirms nuclear program remains peaceful. And FIFA Chief Infantino confident Mexico can safely host World Cup matches despite recent cartel-related violence. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Welcome to NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo, and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. With just 8 days to go, Nepal prepares for its national parliamentary elections on March 5. The Election Commission has said political parties and candidates are in full campaign mode, presenting their plans and commitments to voters. The Commission is closely monitoring all election activities to ensure fair play, warning that interference in campaigns could lead to fines of up to 200,000 rupees, up to 3 years in jail, or both. Despite challenging weather, election materials are also being transported across the country. In Mustang's remote Santa village, where 39 voters are registered, roads blocked by snow are being cleared to deliver ballots securely. Officials also confirmed that results from direct elections will be published within 24 hours of vote counting. Nepal's Election Commission emphasizes that all preparations are in place for a safe and transparent vote. Nepal heads into the final days of preparations for the March 5 elections. With ballot papers, election supplies and other arrangements ready, Aprila Kising Lama looks at what's set for the elections.
With just 8 days to go, the Election Commission says preparations are in the final phase. Election materials and ballot papers have been sent to 75 of 77 districts. Kathmandu and Bhaktapur will receive theirs on Thursday. Both first-past-the-post and proportional representation ballots are ready. Altogether, 20.03 million ballot papers have been printed for the first-past-the-post election category, with 28.30 million for PR system of election. In remote mountainous regions, including election materials, ballot papers, voter lists, ink markers and security seals were airlifted by Nepal Army aircraft to reach isolated polling centers. The Election Commission is monitoring election publicity and complaints of campaign disruptions. The Election Code of Conduct is in force. Candidates, parties and affiliates must not disrupt programs, rallies or meetings. Voter education campaigns continue nationwide to inform citizens about the voting process and their rights, while parties carry on with active campaigning. With logistics almost complete, the focus now shifts to implementation and enforcement. The coming week will test how smoothly the system operates and whether the code of conduct is upheld. Nepal moves closer to March 5, with the Election Commission keeping a close watch to ensure a fair and orderly election, and results are expected quickly after voting concludes.
Nepal is gearing up for its parliament elections scheduled for March 5, with the government assuring that security arrangements are robust and the vote will be conducted peacefully. The Home Ministry has said comprehensive measures are in place, involving around 150,000 election police, 78,000 Nepali Army personnel, 34,000 armed police and 2,000 staff from the National Investigation Department. Security is also provided for candidates where necessary. Election campaigns are underway across all 7 provinces and 77 districts, with 3,406 candidates contesting direct seats in 165 constituencies and 3,135 candidates for proportional representation. Under the Integrated Election Security Plan, special attention is being given to the safety of polling stations, transport of ballot boxes, and vigilance at counting centers. Across the country, the Election Commission has reported 10,967 polling locations and 23,112 polling centres, all under close monitoring to ensure a free, fair and peaceful election. On February 24th, Nepal's cabinet approved the 16th Plan Implementation Action Plan. Government spokesperson and Home Minister Om Prakash Sharma announced that following the Judicial Council's recommendation, promoted 2 undersecretaries in the judicial service. The cabinet also approved the transfer and the promotion of senior officers in Nepali Army, extended the mandate of the Commission reviewing Supreme Court orders on the transport sector, and confirmed that medical costs for security personnel injured during elections will be covered, with financial support for families in case of death. Likewise, tax exemptions have been granted for the Kathmandu Ring Road Improvement Project funded by China, and the 10th National Games will be held after parliament elections at a suitable time.
16औं योजना कार्ययोजना स्वीकृत गर्ने नेपाललाई OECD Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purpose को सदस्यता लिन स्वीकृत प्रदान गर्ने, चीन सरकारबाट प्रतिनिधि सभा सदस्य निर्वाचनको लागि प्रदान गर्ने प्रस्तावित 4 मिलियन अमेरिकी डलर बराबरको नगद अनुदान सहायता स्वीकार गर्ने, चालू आर्थिक वर्षको वार्षिक बजेट तथा कार्यक्रममा उल्लेख भए बमोजिम बुढी गण्डकी जलाशय युक्त जलविद्युत आयोजनाको वित्तीय लगानी ढाँचा स्वीकृत गर्ने, बीमा ऐन 2079 को दफा 140 बमोजिमको कसुर सम्बन्धी मुद्दाको कारबाही र किनारा गर्न नेपालका 77 वटै जिल्ला अदालतलाई तोक्ने.
We're going for a short break here. More news coming up. You're watching NTV World and this is Primetime News. Welcome back. Nepal's government has stepped up efforts to rescue citizens trapped in organized online scams in Southeast Asia. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced that the rescue process is underway for 309 Nepalese, including those stranded in Cambodia. Earlier, Myanmar had sentenced 18 Nepalese involved in online scams to 1-year jail terms, and efforts are now underway to reduce their sentences and bring them home. Across Myanmar and 17 other countries, 495 individuals, including Nepalese, remain in detention. The ministry has said young Nepalese, often with foreign work experience, are lured with high-paying computer jobs only to face passport confiscation, forced detention and physical or mental abuse. So far, 392 Nepalese have been successfully rescued through coordinated efforts by the ministry and local embassies.
ट्राभल एडभाइजरी नै राखेको छ त्यहाँ यस्तो यस्तोमा नपस्नु हुन्न त्यहाँ नजानु हुन्न त्यस्तो खालको कुराहरू छ भनेर निकालेको छ र ती निकाल्ने वेबसाइटमा मात्रै केन्द्र त्यसको आउटरिच होस् भनेर चाहिँ हामीले यिनीहरूलाई सोसल मिडिया ह्यान्डल्सहरू छन् सोसल मिडियामा पनि राखेका छौँ अनि फेसबुकमा अलिक बढी त्यसको बढी जान्छ भनेर चाहिँ फेसबुकमा पनि राखेका छौँ हामी हाम्रो जुन फेसबुक अकाउन्ट छ त्यसमा पनि राखेका छौँ र त्यसले चाहिँ एकछिनले भिजिबिलिटी बढाएको छ।
Nepal's Foreign Minister Balananda Sharma held courtesy meetings with two visiting envoys earlier today. China's ambassador in Nepal, Chang Maoming, discussed bilateral ties and areas of mutual cooperation with the minister. Likewise, Ishad Azim, non-resident ambassador of the Maldives to Nepal, also met Minister Sharma to explore various aspects of Nepal-Maldives relations. Both envoys had earlier presented their credentials to President Ramchandra Podal on Tuesday. While Kathmandu's outdoor AQI recently spiked to 191, ranking it as the third most polluted city in the world, health experts warn that the air inside our homes often poses a more direct threat to our lungs. Trapped pollutants from cooking fuels, chemicals and poor ventilation can be up to 5 times more concentrated than outdoor air, leading to chronic respiratory diseases and stunted lung growth in children. Sabika Shrestha brings you more.
While the winter smog blanketing the Kathmandu Valley frequently captures public attention, health experts are issuing urgent warnings about a more intimate danger, the air inside our homes. Recent data from global health authorities indicates that indoor air pollution contributes to millions of premature deaths worldwide every year. In Nepal, this crisis uniquely spans both rural and urban divides. In many rural communities, the continued reliance on traditional biomass fuels such as firewood and agricultural waste for cooking creates highly toxic indoor environments. Conversely, in rapidly urbanizing areas, tightly sealed modern apartments trap chemical pollutants from synthetic furnishings, cleaning products, and gas heaters, creating a dangerous and invisible cocktail of toxins. Medical professionals caution that the air inside our homes can often be significantly more polluted than the air outside.
In the kitchen, when we are cooking food, the firewood or the gas or the petroleum that is being combusted releases a lot of particulate matters. Also, when we are cooking food, the vapors or the things that emerge out of the cooking utensils also contribute to the particulate matter. Similarly, apart from the kitchen also, when we are living underground, then in the underground areas or when there are crevices in the home, that is a source of radon, that is a potential carcinogen leading to the lung cancer in long term. Our storeroom, which is almost unattended, then we are likely to find a lot of molds in such places. So that mold can also produce some hypersensitivity reactions, and then we are prone to allergic diseases.
In colder months, closed windows trap indoor pollutants like PM 2.5 and VOCs. When inhaled, they reach deep into the lungs, cause inflammation, and over time can enter the bloodstream, leading to serious and sometimes permanent health problems. Pulmonologists are seeing more cases of COPD in non-smokers, mainly due to long-term exposure to kitchen smoke and poor indoor air quality. Invisible pollutants such as mold spores, pet dander, and nitrogen dioxide from unvented gas stoves can also trigger and severe asthma attacks. For young children who spend most of their time indoors, the risks are even greater. Continuous exposure can slow lung development and increase the chances of serious infections like pneumonia, which is still a leading cause of child deaths in Nepal. This indoor vulnerability is further exacerbated by the worsening outdoor air quality. When outdoor levels are high, pollutants inevitably seep into homes, compounding the risks already present from indoor sources.
Long-term impacts of the air pollution is that the tiny particles which we name as particulate matter, the size of the particulate matter being if the size of the particulate matter is less than 2.5 micrometers, then it can get easy access to the circulation via lungs, and once it gets into the circulation, it has detrimental effects all over the body, reaching the brain, heart, kidneys, pancreas, and almost every organs of our body.
Environmental scientists and public health officials are urging the public to take immediate practical measures to safeguard their health. Simple everyday actions such as ensuring proper cross-ventilation during hours when outdoor pollution is lower, running exhaust fans while cooking, and promptly fixing damp areas to prevent mold and drastically reduce lung exposure. Furthermore, the ongoing national push to transition households toward clean electric cooking technologies such as induction stoves is being campaigned as a vital step in eradicating the burden of household air pollution. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Now, as Nepal gears up for its March 5 elections, the Trinagar border in Kailali hums with movement. Some cross with ballots in mind, others with belongings, jobs, or opportunity. The same checkpoint witnessing journeys of hope and necessity, each step telling a story of a nation in motion. Rochina Rai with our local correspondent Dinesh Bista brings the report.
Early in the morning at the Trinagar custom checkpoint in Kailali district, Nepal's open border with India, a long line of young men and women stretches as far as the eyes can see. Each of them carried a bag on their shoulder, their faces marked by exhaustion and determination. The lines at the border reflect a coexistence of journeys. Some Nepalese are crossing to return home and vote in the national election, while others are leaving the country in search of work and survival. Previously, most migrant workers returned only during festivals, but this year is different. Some have come back specifically to cast their vote in March 5th election. Despite years of hard work in a foreign land, they carry hope that their vote might bring change to the country they call home. For them, the election is a chance to choose leaders who could create the opportunities they have long been denied.
विशेष चुनावी माहौलमा देशको परिस्थिति देख्दाखेरि हामीलाई पनि प्रवासमा भएका साथीहरूलाई पनि केही अब देशमा हुन्छ होला परिवर्तन हुन्छ होला भनेर हामी अब प्रवासबाट अहिले चुनावी माहौलमा सुदेश.
Yet alongside hope, there is frustration. Those heading to India whisper to themselves, hunger is greater than voting. This is the reality for many Nepalese from Sudur Paschim province whose stories are mirrored across the nation. For years, they have traveled to Indian cities, taking on labor-intensive jobs to support their families. The open border, geographic proximity, and limited opportunities at home leave them little choice but to seek work abroad. Many young Nepalese leaving the country and a family behind speak of the same struggles: unemployment, lack of industries, and limited economic opportunities. They lament political promises of job creation are plentiful during election campaigns, but real change has been slow in coming. As Nepal heads to the polls on March 5th, Trinagar stands as a quiet witness to two parallel journeys, one toward the ballot box and another toward opportunity abroad. Rosina Rai with local correspondent Dinesh Bista from Kailali reporting for NTV World.
Police in Nepal have arrested 2 more individuals involved in a fake rescue scam targeting foreign tourists in the country's high Himalayan regions. The Central Investigation Bureau has said trekking companies and aviation sector personnel were exploiting emergency situations, fabricating documents to claim insurance payouts. Companies such as Mountain Rescue Service, Everest Experience and Assistance, and Nepal Charter Service allegedly prepared false rescue certificates and medical reports, including fake hospital admission and discharge records in Kathmandu. The arrests include tourism entrepreneur Sandeep Tiwari and former Vice President of Nepal Aviation Operators Association Rajendra Bahadur Singh. Authorities continue to investigate illegal activities in Nepal's trekking and mountaineering sectors. Time now for international updates, but before that, a quick breather. Iran has strongly rejected claims by U.S. President Donald Trump that it is developing missiles capable of striking American soil. Tehran called the allegations false and described repeated U.S. accusations about its missile and nuclear programs as baseless propaganda. Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai took to social media to deny claims regarding its nuclear program, ballistic missile development, and reported deaths during unrest in January. Trump had earlier asserted that Iran is pursuing missile capabilities to reach U.S. territory. Tehran reiterated that it has never sought nuclear weapons and that its nuclear activities are strictly for peaceful purposes. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump delivered the longest ever State of the Union address on Tuesday, speaking for about 1 hour and 48 minutes and surpassing the previous record set in the year 2000 by President Bill Clinton. Trump highlighted domestic achievements, including higher U.S. oil and natural gas production, the receipt of over 80 million barrels of oil from Venezuela, described as a new friend and partner, and what he described as massive tax cuts.
American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil. Large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
Trump also addressed broader economic and security themes, pointing to falling inflation, rising incomes, improved border security, and lower crime rates as indicators of national strength. In foreign policy remarks, Trump referenced negotiations with Iran and outlined positions on international security during the speech. He announced a new initiative, which he calls a war on fraud, to be led by Vice President J.D. Vance, and framed his remarks as demonstrating a strong state of the union. Moving on, Iran's foreign ministry has strongly rejected U.S. claims about its missile program, calling them big lies. Spokesperson Ismail Baghai said allegations regarding Iran's nuclear program, ballistic missiles, and casualties during January unrest are simply repeated falsehoods. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump had claimed Tehran was developing missiles capable of striking the U.S. and accused Iran's authorities of killing thousands during recent protests. Iran has repeatedly denied pursuing nuclear weapons, insisting its nuclear activities are strictly for peaceful purposes, while saying January unrest deaths were caused by what it describes as U.S. and Israel-backed terrorist acts. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Israel for a 2-day visit, his first since the war in Gaza began. During his stay, Modi is expected to address the Knesset, Israel's parliament, and meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Isaac Herzog. No meetings with Palestinian leaders are on his schedule. The visit highlights growing ties between India and Israel in defense, technology, and trade. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has arrived in China, marking his first official visit to the country's largest trade partner and a major high-tech competitor. Merz is accompanied by a significant business delegation and is scheduled to hold talks with President Xi Jinping. The visit will include a formal dinner and discussions aimed at strengthening trade relations, technology cooperation, and addressing economic and geopolitical challenges between the two countries. A Myanmar military airstrike on a village market in Rakhine State has killed at least 17 people. The strike hit Yoe Ngu village in Ponnagyu Township, about 33 kilometers northeast of the state capital, Sitwe. Among the dead are 3 children, while at least 15 others were left injured. Rakhine, controlled largely by the ethnic Arakan army, has seen repeated airstrikes and a strict blockade by the military junta. Witnesses described widespread destruction, with several buildings burned and civilians fleeing the scene. Myanmar has been embroiled in civil conflict since a military coup 5 years ago, with ongoing clashes between the junta, democracy activists, and ethnic minority. More international news lined up. For now, a short breather. The southeastern Brazilian state of Minas Gerais is grappling with deadly floods and landslides after torrential rains triggered rivers to burst their banks. At least 25 people have died and 43 remain missing as mud swept through neighborhoods in the cities of Juiz de Fora and Uba, while more than 200 residents have been rescued by firefighters, volunteers, and sniffer dogs. Thousands have been displaced, schools are closed, and some communities remain cut off amid what officials describe as record February rainfall. The disaster comes after a string of extreme weather events in Brazil in recent years, including catastrophic flooding in 2024 that affected millions in the south. Thousands of families in Indonesia's western province of Aceh remain displaced months after deadly monsoon floods struck Sumatra Island late last year. More than 1,200 people were killed across 3 provinces, with nearly 140 still missing, making it the worst disaster in the region since 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami that devastated the province. Around 26,000 survivors are still living in tents and temporary shelters as reconstruction efforts lag behind targets set by authorities, with fewer than 10% of promised permanent homes completed. Investors are closely watching results from Nvidia, which is set to release its 4th quarter earnings after the close of trading on Wall Street. The U.S. chipmaker, currently the world's most valuable publicly traded company, has been at the center of a global surge in demand for artificial intelligence hardware. Markets have been volatile in recent sessions, with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite under pressure amid tariff uncertainty and concerns about the broader impact of AI on legacy industries. Analysts say Nvidia's update will be closely scrutinized for signals on AI chip demand, data center expansion, and forward guidance. The earnings release comes as investors assess the outlook for the technology sector and broader market momentum in the months ahead. And with that, we move on to sports update. The All Nepal Football Association (ENFA) has announced the preliminary squad for the upcoming SAF Under-20 Championship. The tournament is being scheduled to be held in Maldives this year. On Wednesday, ENFA called 35 players for a closed camp training. The squad includes players such as Alex Rester, Anubhav Puri, Bhakta Bahadur Pariyar, Vijay Urao, Vigyan Khadka, Vinayak Tharu and Darshan Adhikari. The association says the training camp aims to fully prepare the team for the competition. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has expressed full confidence in Mexico's ability to host World Cup matches despite recent violence linked to the killing of a cartel leader. Speaking in Barranquilla, Infantino said preparations remain on track for the tournament, which Mexico will co-host with the United States and Canada from June 11 to July 19. The unrest followed a security operation near Guadalajara that left at least 74 people dead in clashes with Jalisco New Generation cartel. Matches are scheduled in Guadalajara, Mexico City and Monterrey, with local authorities assuring fans that conditions are stabilizing and all tournament plans will proceed as scheduled. Before wrapping up, here's a quick look into the headlines once again. Nepal's Election Commission ensures secure ballot transport and transparent voting as candidates intensify campaigns ahead of March 5 elections. 23,000 plus polling centres to be monitored by Nepal's Election Commission ahead of March 5 parliamentary vote to ensure transparency. Ministry of Foreign Affairs leads coordinated effort to free Nepalese detained in overseas online scams. Srinagar checkpoint in western Nepal witnesses parallel journeys as Nepalese return to vote or depart for employment overseas. Iran denies US President Trump's claims of missile development, reaffirms nuclear program remains peaceful. And FIFA Chief Infantino confident Mexico can safely host World Cup matches despite recent cartel-related violence. That is all for the moment. You're on NTV World Prime Time News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and visit our official website nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting, PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World. Facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I am Sabika Shrestha, your host for the weekly current affairs program. Here we pick the major news of the week, unpack its significance and examine how today's decisions shape tomorrow's directions. This week's key issues include the enforcement of the Election Code of Conduct as Nepal prepares for the House of Representatives elections, with the Election Commission of Nepal operating a high-tech monitoring war room and identifying nearly 500 violations nationwide, the highest reported in Janakpur Dham. Voting in hilly regions amid geographical fragility remains a challenge as authorities in Manang are clearing snow to ensure access to polling centres. The Election Commission of Nepal is also turning to social media influencers to boost voter turnout, recognizing that digital and social media platforms have become an integral part of country's political conversations. Additionally, the Commission has mandated candidates to open dedicated bank accounts for campaign financing alongside reflection on Democracy Day, that is Fagun 7 of Nepali date, and Nepal's democratic progress. As nations worldwide grapple with the digital distortion of democracy, Nepal's Election Commission is striking back ahead of the House of Representatives elections. With a high-tech war room manned by military, police and cyber experts, the Commission has identified nearly 500 cases of Election Code of Conduct violation in record time. From blocking illegal exit polls to scrubbing toxic information from the web, here is how the front line of fair elections is being defended. Subeksha Razak brings more.
To ensure a level playing field, the Election Commission has set up a high-level monitoring unit to ensure that misinformation and disinformation aimed at influencing the March 5 House of Representatives elections. The Commission reveals that 467 reports of toxic information have been flagged since day one. 107 social media posts were removed, 32 news portal violations cleared, and 11 illegal sites were blocked.
हामी जिल्ला तहमा पनि निर्वाचन आचार संहिता अनुगमन अधिकृतर हुनुहुन्छ दुईजना नेपाल सरकारका पदाधिकारीहरूलाई आयोगले तोकेको छ उहाँहरूले पनि विभिन्न आचार संहिता विपरीत भएका घटनाहरूलाई चाहिँ तत्कालै नियन्त्रणमा लिएर त्यसलाई हटाउने जस्तो भित्ति लेखन भएको छ तुल ब्यानरहरू जताततै राखिएका छन् तिनीहरूलाई हटाउने भित्ति लेखनहरूलाई मेट्ने यस्तो कामहरू उहाँहरूले गरिरहनु भएको छ एजुकेसनको रूपमा जसरी देशको संविधान देशको कानुन हरेक नागरिकले जान्नुपर्छ भने जस्तै निर्वाचन आचार संहिता पनि स्टेक होल्डरले थाहा पाउनुपर्छ आचार संहितामा के व्यवस्था छ त्यो कुरो जानकारी दिनका लागि हामीले यसलाई भोटर एजुकेसनको एउटा पाटोको रूपमा अहिले जसरी हामी भोलिन्टियरहरू वडा तहमा परिचालन गरिरहेका छौँ, उहाँहरूलाई पनि निर्वाचन आचार संहिताको विषयमा आम नागरिकलाई, मतदातालाई, अरू उम्मेदवारहरूलाई जानकारी गराउनु हुनका लागि हामीले अनुरोध गरेका छौँ, तालिम दिएका छौँ। उहाँहरूले पनि त्यो काम गरिरहनु भएको छ। त्यसले गर्दा धेरै मानिसहरूले आचार संहिता उल्लङ्घन गर्नु हुँदैन है भन्ने कुरो जानेर बस्नुभयो भने उल्लङ्घन हुन अलिक कम हुन्छ। त्यो कुरालाई पनि हामीले यताबाट पनि एजुकेसनबाट पनि उल्लङ्घन कम गरिरहेका छौँ र उल्लङ्घन भइसकेका घटनाहरूलाई पनि नियमित र व्यवस्थित गर्ने काम अगाडि बढिरहेका छौँ।
But the crackdown isn't just digital. Enforcement unit is equally active in the nooks and corners of the rural areas to the urban towns. Monitoring officers are currently targeting local representative campaigning outside their jurisdictions and the illegal use of children in political rallies. In the compliance checklist, provincial ministers must have EC consent to campaign. Local representatives are prohibited from campaigning within their own jurisdiction, and civil employees, teachers, and officials must remain neutral. And now the top violators are teachers and civil employees, provincial ministers, local representatives.
निर्वाचन आयोगको फेसबुक पेज, टिकटक अथवा हाम्रो वेबसाइटहरुमा चाहिँ हामीले आम नागरिकले पालना गर्ने पर्ने विषयहरु चाहिँ राखिदिएका छौं। त्यसमा नाटक छन्, गीति कथाहरु छन्, हैन, प्रचारका अन्य सामग्री पोस्टरहरु छ। एकदमै देखेर बुझिने खालको छ। एकदमै छिटो रिडिङ गर्नु पनि परेन, हैन। ती सामग्रीहरु हेरिदिनको लागि अनुरोध गर्छु।
The Commission's strategy is to fold enforcement and education. While the Cyber Bureau scrubs the web, thousands of volunteers are hitting the wards to educate voters. Now the voter think twice list. Don't share unverified info, avoid character assassination, and report toxic content. The message to citizens is clear. Think before you tag, comment, or share. In an era where a single post can derail an election, Nepal's proactive stance serves as a blueprint for digital age democracy.
As the House of Representatives election in Nepal approaches, political parties and their leaders have intensified campaigns nationwide. Amid the heightened election activities, numerous cases of code of conduct violation have been reported from across the country. The cases have gone nowhere as high as in Janakpur Dham, the capital of Madhya province. Rojina Rai with our correspondent Sanjay Saha looks into why Dhanusa is at top of the code of conduct violation list.
Election activities, including door-to-door campaigns coupled by extensive social media use, have intensified as Nepal's House of Representatives election approaches. Alongside, incidents of violation of election code of conduct are increasing, with the Dhanusa in Madhya province reported to have the highest number of breaches. Dhanusa District Administration Office has removed more than 20,000 publicity materials that violated the election code of conduct. As parties and candidates did not pay heed to the directives of the office, it had to remove the pamphlets and other campaign materials by itself. Though Chief District Officer of Dhanusa, Prem Prasad Luitel, has warned of strict legal action against violators, the trend remains unchecked.
जनकपुर क्षेत्रमा चाहिँ धेरै मात्रामा यो आचार संहिता उल्लङ्घनको घटना भएकोले यसलाई हामीले चाहिँ नियन्त्रण गरेका हौं। आचार संहिता पालना गर्नुपर्छ भनेर यसलाई हटाएका हौं।
Since all districts in Madhya share border with India, many polling stations are classified as highly sensitive. Understanding the security sensitivity of most of the polling stations in Madhya region, the candidates and parties have been advised to be more responsible in code of conduct adherence.
तब त्यो कन्ट्रोल हुन्छ अनि जनताहरु पनि आफ्नो मतको निर्भीक रूपमा अधिकार प्रयोग गरेर भोट दिन पाउँछन्.
People at large are concerned that continued violations could threaten the fairness of the election ahead.
In the Himalayan district of Solukhumbu, voters are eagerly preparing to cast their ballots. Despite the geographical fragility, voter enthusiasm remains strong in these sparsely populated areas. They are calling on candidates to prioritize basic development issues including healthcare, education, tourism, agriculture and employment opportunities. Aprila Gising Lama with our district correspondent from Okaltunga, Navraz Karki, explores more.
Residents of Dorpu Bazar in Solukhumbu district, a mountainous region in northeastern Nepal that is home to Mount Everest, say basic public services rather than grand political promises should define the agenda in the upcoming elections.
निशुल्क शिक्षाको व्यवस्था र निशुल्क स्वास्थ्य चाहिँ पाए हुन्थ्यो भन्ने चाहिँ मेरो चाहना छ। भ्रष्टाचार रहित अलि सुशासन को नीति नियमहरु पालन गरेर काम गर्न सक्ने त्यस्तो खालको योग्य नेतालाई चाहिँ उम्मेदवार बनाएर त्यसलाई भोटिङ गर्ने चाहिँ हाम्रो योजना हो।
In this mountainous terrain, access to healthcare remains a serious challenge. Even for common illnesses, families are often compelled to take loans to travel long distances to Kathmandu for treatment. In higher altitude and hard-to-reach settlements, emergency cases can require costly helicopter evacuations due to the lack of equipped medical facilities. Education services are limited, road connectivity is poor, and employment opportunities remain scarce in the rugged Himalayan landscapes. Across Solukhumbu, citizens are calling for reliable roads capable of withstanding mountainous conditions, stable electricity, telecommunications, and safe drinking water. Many are also seeking greater investment in tourism, agriculture, and small enterprises to generate jobs in a region where the economy heavily depends on seasonal trekking and mountaineering. Solukhumbu has a population of just over 104,000 people, with more than 85,000 registered voters expected to participate in the upcoming polls. Despite geographical challenges, local officials report strong voter enthusiasm.
हामी प्रत्येक पालिकामा सम्बद्ध सरकारवालाहरुसँग अन्तर्क्रिया पनि जस्तै हामीले कुलुङ महाकुलुङमा गर्यौं अन्तर्क्रिया हैन त्यसै गरी गएर सोताङमा पनि गर्यौं मापीमा गर्यौं अनि त्यसपछि गएर लिखुपिकेमा पनि हामीले अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रमहरु गर्यौं अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रमको क्रममा चाहिँ उहाँहरुले मतदान गर्नलाई चाहिँ एकदमै उत्साहितै रहेको पाएका छौं.
In the 2022 parliamentary election, CPN-UML candidate Manbir Rai won the district's sole federal constituency, defeating his nearest rival from the Nepali Congress. This time, 12 candidates from major political parties are competing for the seat, as voters in Nepal's Himalayan heartland look for political solutions to long-standing development gaps.
Efforts are underway to clear massive snow drifts and create a path toward polling centers in the Narfa Bhumi rural municipality of Manang after access for monitoring became nearly impossible. All three security agencies in the district are currently working to clear the accumulated snow to facilitate movement. Travel to this region had come to a complete standstill during the winter as most local residents moved out of the district. Chief District Officer Narayan Pauril stated that the snow clearing operation aims to ensure that both voters and election officials can safely reach the villages to conduct the polls despite the extreme cold and heavy snowfall. There are 5 polling centers in this area serving a total of 488 voters. The implementation plan formulated by Nepal Selection Commission with the agreement of political parties to make the elections economical and transparent has not been effectively carried out. The Commission has mandated candidates to open a bank account to conduct election-related campaigns by February 15. However, so far only about 1/4 of the candidates have opened their bank accounts. Diksha Avasti brings us the story.
The Election Commission says it is closely monitoring compliance of its directives to the political parties and candidates to carry out campaign financial transactions through bank accounts. Since the Commission's issued directives as per the Operation and Management Procedures 2082, only out of 75 political parties and 3,406 direct candidates, only 7 political parties and 867 candidates have opened the required bank accounts. The Commission at the same time acknowledges that since this is the first time the rule has been enforced, specific punitive measures for non-compliance are still not clear.
This campaign financing or mandatory single bank account for the political parties and candidates is really a new venture for Election Commission. And that's why we are requesting all the political parties and their candidates as well as the independent candidates to open separate account for the election campaigns.
Still, the Commission has the right to make law to punish the offenders. The mandatory provision for political parties and candidates to open a separate bank account for election expenses has been introduced for the first time in Nepal's electoral history. According to the Commission, the measure is intended to discourage unregulated cash spending and ensure accountability in campaign financing. Officials say banks now have branches in all 753 local levels, making compliance feasible nationwide. The Commission has also directed candidates to spend up to Rs 3.3 million, depending on geographical factors, with monitoring of the funds disbursed from the candidates' accounts to ensure financial discipline. As the election is just 13 days away and campaigns are at its peak, the Commission expects more parties and candidates will come under the financial ambit.
The 3-day-long Democracy Day celebrations kicked off in Nepal, commemorating Phagun 7, 2007 Bikram era, which as per Gregorian calendar fell on February 19, 1951. Despite numerous other moments when the struggle for democracy succeeded in the country, namely the 1990 Popular Movement and the 2006 Popular Movement too, Phagun 7 still stands out. Though attempts were made to change the date, the people and the country still commemorate the first seed of democracy sown in Nepal on February 19, 1951. On the eve of Democracy Day, we explored why Phagun 7 is the ultimate democracy day in Nepal. Amid numerous democratic movements and uprising in Nepal's modern history, Phagun 7, 2007 Bikram era remains central to the foundation of democracy. The date February 19, 2051 marks the country abolished 104-year-long Rana oligarchy. That was the beginning of democracy in Nepal, though the struggles that followed mark another chapter. Led by the then monarch Tribhuvan Birbikram Shaha himself, the nearly 4-year-long struggle waged from outside the country culminated in the abolition of Rana regime. The seed of democracy was sown in Nepal on that very day, which even today, despite numerous other democratic movements down the timeline, remains relevant. The sapling of democracy was crushed 9 years later in 1960, and the period from 1961 till 1990 marked the partyless Panchayat regime. In 1990, People's Movement organized by Nepali Congress and Nepal Communist Party successfully restored democracy, with then King Birendra conceding absolute monarchy to more of a ceremonial role. In April 2006, the Second Popular Movement was wedged with the involvement of the warring Maoist rebels against King Gyanendra's direct rule, once again restoring democracy in the country. In between these major moments and historic episodes, even today, Phagun 7, 2007 Bikram era stands out as the Democracy Day in Nepal, mainly because it was first ever such movement that sowed the seed of democracy. Political scientist Vesraj Ghimire describes Phagun 7 as the watershed moment in Nepali history, stamping its relevance forever.
It was a great day in Nepali history, when the Nepali people fight against the Rana oligarchy. Rana oligarchy means Rana autocracy. This system suppressed to Nepali people. Now we got democracy. Nepali people fight against the Rana oligarchy, and finally Nepal became a journey of entered the journey of political democracy, democratic system. So it was a victory for Nepali people. It was a land escape for Nepali democracy.
The significance of Fagun 7 can also be traced in the Martyrs' Day celebrations. Despite the country having more than 11,000 martyrs, the day is primarily dedicated to 4 martyrs who sacrificed their life in the struggle against the Rana regime in 1951. Amid ongoing political instability, governance challenges, and public demands for accountability, Democracy Day reminds leaders and citizens alike that democracy was hard-earned through struggle and its preservation requires continued commitment, participation, and responsibility.
With just less than 2 weeks before Nepal's House of Representatives elections, the Election Commission of Nepal is turning to social media influencers to boost voter turnout. This recognition of influence by Nepal's electoral body shows that digital social media are now actually a part of the country's political conversations. The move comes amid the new scenario of Nepal that is undergoing change following activism in digital platforms that shape people's engagement and influence, leading to a new electoral course in the country. Bijata Bhandari reports more.
With just over 2 weeks remaining before Nepal votes in the House of Representatives elections, the Election Commission Nepal has stepped up efforts to engage voters, this time by turning towards social media creators. On Tuesday, the Commission convened a special interaction program for digital influencers and online content creators, looking to expand voter awareness and participation ahead of polling day on March 5. In the 2022 House of Representatives election, voter turnout was around 61%, leaving nearly 40% of eligible voters absent from the ballot. Nepal now counts more than 14 million social media identities across platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, a significant number in a country of roughly 30 million people. For many Nepalis, especially younger audiences, social media has become a primary space for news consumption and civic discussion. The rise of post-Gen Z political movements in recent times has also highlighted the country's growing digital presence. Online platforms have not only shaped public debate, but even been used for choosing leadership candidates after the September 8 and 9 Gen Z protests, showing how influential digital spaces have become in Nepal's democratic process. Officials also highlighted that digital platforms can help bridge information gaps for people with low literacy levels by making the content visually accessible and easier to understand.
The objective of Election Commission is to reach the maximum voters, maximum population. Those content creators and social media, if they create positive materials, then they can convince common people positively for the election. That's why our common objective is to make this general election successful. That's why we are organizing this orientation program for those social media creators and influencers for the conducive environment for the upcoming general election.
Social media creators can play a constructive role by sharing verified details about voter registration, polling procedures, and citizens' rights, while helping counter misinformation during the campaign period. Influencers attending the program acknowledged their growing responsibility in shaping the public opinion.
अलि लङ टर्म जान्छु म सोसियली एक्टिभ मान्छे हो र म सिङ्गो समाज जोड्न चाहन्छु र मेरो प्रस्तुति मेरो कन्टेन्ट चाहिँ समाजको हितमा छ भन्नेहरूले चाहिँ कम्तीमा पनि त्यो कन्टेन्ट चुनाव पछि 21 गते हेर्दा पनि आफूलाई ग्लानि नहोस् यो खालको कन्टेन्ट निर्माण गर्नुपर्छ किनभने अहिले राजनीति पनि तरल छ समाज विभाजित भएको छ यस्तो बेलामा कन्टेन्ट क्रिएटरले जोड्ने हो हामी यो बेला सुपर ग्लु हो समाजलाई बाँड्ने खालका भन्दा पनि यो विभाजित समाजलाई एक बनाउने खालको कन्टेन्ट हुनुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई.
The focus needs to be aimed at strengthening democratic participation and not on promoting any political force. As Nepal heads to the polls, the expanding reach of social media and the creators who drive conversations online could play a pivotal role in informing voters and encouraging broader participation at the ballot box.
That's the perspective for this week. We will be back next week with major highlights of the week. Thank you for watching NTV World.
Hello, welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief on NTV World. I'm Devendra Subedi. In this episode, we try to explore a young Nepali artist's journey from Kathmandu to the global stage. A journey from scribbling pictures in canvas to becoming the first contemporary Nepali artist to be included in the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, United States, in itself is fascinating. We will try to explore art, its forms, the artist herself, her life and work, and that is no less than an example for all the budding artists. Let's welcome Sneha Shrestha, aka Imagine.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Let's start with this Imagine thing.
Sure.
Can you explain what this Imagine exactly is?
Sure. I mean, when I was first introduced to art as a young adult after graduating from college, I was really introduced to graffiti. And a lot of times graffiti artists have sort of what is called a street name. And when my mentor at that time asked me to choose a name, you know, I really didn't have an idea. But then I thought of what was closest to my heart. And I automatically thought of my mom. And my mom's name is Kalpana. And so when you translate Kalpana into English, it means imagination.
Is that what you're wearing right now?
Yes, actually. Yeah. This says Kalpana, and, you know, it's my way of keeping my mom close to my heart. And every time I sign my name, I get to write her name.
You were influenced by graffiti, as you said, and now sculpture also you are pursuing, and you are mural painter as well. You have followed different forms, the art, right? The name itself, this name that you have chosen, doesn't sound graffitish-like, but closer to your roots, your families. Was that something worked on or thought about?
Yeah, I wanted to choose something that felt like me. I didn't want, and I also needed like a shorter name, so like Imagine instead of Imagination made sense. And really my family and where I come from is really what roots me into my work, and so it made sense.
I'm really excited to have you here in our studios in Kathmandu. We caught you as you were here in Kathmandu for some project work, as you said. What is art exactly, Sneha? How should we define art? I know it's a very abstract term. This could have multiple understanding and interpretations, but how would you, as a performing artist, define art?
Well, as a visual artist, I would define art as self-expression. It's a way of sharing how I see the world.
Just that much?
Yeah.
What about the feelings?
I mean that is like, that includes everything, right? Like how I see the world, how I'm feeling about it, how I want people to see what I'm seeing. I think it's a powerful form of self-expression.
Art is something you are interested in or you like. When was the first memories of drawing something? When was it?
I think my first memory was watching my mom translate these English children's books into Nepali children's books. It was a time where there weren't a lot of Nepali children's books, right? So I remember, you know, the story of the ant and the grasshopper. I remember it was, you know, my mom was translating these books. She would write them in Nepali, and then she would draw them into like large books. She was a teacher. She was a teacher. And so she would take that to her. She was my Nepali teacher, actually. And so she would take it to the classroom and teach us in Nepali, but she would make it exciting, right? If you think about the books, even till now, textbooks and maybe texts on newspapers kind of look similar. Right? But then the way she would draw these pictures larger than life and the letters, you know, like much larger so that kids can read it. I think that was my like really, you know, first memory of like being fascinated by what colors can do, what these like broken pieces of color pencils can do on paper. But I mean, I've loved art and painting really all my life. So I think it was just a matter of, you know, will I do
When
this?
would I just discover it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a thing where I was like, I want to be an artist.
Was there somebody who saw the brighter side of your painting and told you that you should be doing this when you were a child?
That's a good question. I think I found myself getting drawn to painting all the time. It's just something that I loved doing, regardless of whether I had an art class or not. I just found myself doing it all the time. Even when I went to college, I had my, I majored in globalization studies. But in addition to that, I would find myself sneaking in art classes and making time for that. And so I just knew that that's something that felt like me, and I was just gravitated by it.
Any specific elements that that you draw inspiration in your present day, let's say, art, Nepali culture, something that is rooted in something that is pretty Nepali-like?
Yeah, I think everything about my work is kind of rooted into where I come from, how I grew up in Kathmandu, my household, what my mom and dad showed me that is part of my, our tradition and culture as Newari people. I think it is hard to represent a whole country, being given that our country is so diverse. We speak more than 100 languages just inside Nepal, so it's impossible for me to represent the whole of Nepal. But what I realize is that I can tell the story of how I grew up, and hopefully other people can resonate with that. It really came from the need of expressing myself in terms of who I am. Because usually, I think even till this day when you're in the US, people are like, okay, you're from Nepal, oh, Mount Everest. That's about it, right? Yeah. And so how do I explain that I don't live anywhere close to Mount Everest? No, I haven't climbed it. Yes, I've seen it, but that doesn't tell my whole story. That doesn't tell your story. It doesn't tell my story, right? So I think it came from a struggle of saying, how do I tell people who I am? Where do I even start? I think that struggle became real over time. And I think art really helped me talk about, this is, how my mom does things at home. These are the colors that I was surrounded by growing up. These are temple, shapes of different temples that is part of our, everyday architecture in Kathmandu. When you're walking around, there's a temple here, there's a temple there. There's so much fabric, celebratory fabric around. And I think that's what I wanted to share, because your identity isn't just one thing. It's all these things you're surrounded by, you grew up with. So I think that's where it really came from.
Tell me something about your fascination for that particular script.
Sure.
Because that connects to what you said just now. I'm fed up answering the question that I'm not somewhere near from Mount Everest. But you translated your art, you brought that into your art, expressing your culture somewhere there, very close to that. Is it your answer to that question by adopting that Devanagari in your art?
Sure. It feels closer to answering the question that I've ever gotten to, because Nepali letters are, I can confidently tell someone that these are Nepali letters. It's based in the Devanagari script. Devanagari script is used to write Nepali and Sanskrit and Hindi, and Sanskrit is one of the oldest written forms of languages in the world. And the fact that we can write Devanagari so casually, like a kid can write in Devanagari, like Nepali so casually, it's really a point of cultural pride for me to look at my native letters and be like, look, this is so important. So much of history is based on this. So much of written history is based on this. This is really something special, guys. Look at this. So getting to say that and being excited about it really got me started.
Everybody is an artist somewhere in the heart, they say, but until somebody recognizes it. Do you remember when was your first work of art? Somebody said that, yes, this is awesome. You should make more and more of it. Do you remember when was that moment?
That's such a good question. I'm smiling. I'm smiling because there really wasn't that one time, It really took time to realize that this is something I want to do. This is something that I can make happen. It took a very long time. It wasn't like, going to school here and everything. I hadn't even met a real living artist in my life when I was in school. I hadn't been to a gallery, right? So all of that came later in my life. So it wasn't one moment. It was a series of moments that I looked back on and connected the dots. And I think that's what I continue to do, is connect the dots in terms of, okay, this makes sense. This feels good. Let's move forward with it. So I would say it was a series.
You got family support when you wanted to pursue this as a career?
I think it creeped up so slowly that it wasn't a turning point. It was like, I was taking my, whatever I was trying to do at that time along with my artwork. And so it built up over time. So there was no turning point in that, hey, I'm going to do this, sort of. But I would say there was one moment after I finished my master's where I spoke to my family and I was like, hey, just give me 1 year where I just want to try this. I feel like I've done everything. I'm confident that I can find a job if this doesn't work out. Can you just give me 1 year? I just want to try it out. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And it's been 8 years since, so I'm not sure what to say.
You went to the US to pursue your bachelor's degree. Still, you're not aware that you're going to be an artist?
No.
Were you?
No. It wasn't, a lot of people ask me, like, is it a dream come true? And literally, it wasn't even in my dream. It wasn't in my vocabulary that it was something that I could do. Being born and raised here, it wasn't a career path that someone was like, hey, this is a possibility. I think, it happened over time as well. So, like, bachelor's degree is 4 years in the US. I think it was like 3.5 years in, my professor told me, you've taken enough art classes to be an art major. We know you're a globalization studies major, but do you also want to add this? You just need one more class. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. Sure. That's how I became an art major. It wasn't like I want to be an artist and I should, And I think even after graduation, I wasn't working as an artist. I was working at an arts nonprofit at that time, but I wasn't working as an artist. And I think it was over time that it happened.
As a student, how were you? You were a bright student, weren't you?
Good question. A lot of people, I think it's an interesting question to ask because I didn't consider myself a bright student when I was up till high school. I was in the same school from like 3rd grade till 12th grade. I wasn't considered a good student. I was considered like a troublemaker. I was always told I was like a bad kid, and that my ideas weren't valid ever. And I always used to have this question like, why can't I answer it this way? Because this seems like a right answer too. Like I was always curious, I think the first time I really enjoyed learning and I felt like I wanted to do my homework and wanted to read was when I took this anthropology class in college. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. This is what it feels like to enjoy learning. And I guess that's the point where I started wanting to be a good student. I think before that, it felt like a necessity that was placed on me, as most students might feel. But at that point, I was like, wow, I really am looking forward to doing my homework. I want to read this book so that I know, what's going on in class and stuff like that. So it's a complicated question, to say the least.
Why I asked you this, because you studied at Harvard's in full scholarship.
Correct.
A dull student wouldn't do that. Or a dull student like me would not be able to do that, would I?
I think it's a definition of like what's a good student, right? Yeah. Is a good student, saying yes to everything? Is a good student following the instructions exactly like you've given them? Is a good student not asking any questions and just nodding your head in agreement? Or is a good student a critical thinker who will ask you questions back because they're curious? Because I'm that kind of student, and I feel like I'm a student of life. I continue learning. So in terms of that, I am a student. But I'm not sure if a good student is like a...
Inquisitiveness in you led you to this career. If I say that, would I be wrong?
No, I think you'd be so right. I think it was that curiosity of like, what if? What if I gave myself 1 year to try this out? And not being scared to kind of take that step, and being okay with the fact that it could not work out, and that's okay. But if it works out, that's great too. So being okay with the unknown is such an important thing to have, I think.
Would you say there's no harm in being bad by asking questions or being inquisitive? Follow your passion? Would you say that, or would you say be a good student, do your homework, listen to your parents and teachers? Which one would you suggest?
I would say both. I would say if you're smart, you have to be part of the paradigm too that the school system is set on. Yes, you do need to get good grades. You do need to be a good student. At the same time, also be yourself. If that means being curious and asking questions, then do that. So I think it's not just as simple as like follow your passion.
My next question, Sneha, being a Nepali, abroad for studies, following your passion, was it difficult initially?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult when you follow your passion, especially when it's something that no one has done before in your vicinity at least. I think that's why it took me a long time to come to it. I think if someone was like, hey, you're really good at art, you should think about being an artist, and this is what you need to do to be an artist. If someone told me that, I think I would have been in a different place now, but I think it was a lot of trial and error to figure out what I want to do. And I think it's important to do that at the same time because that's sort of part of finding yourself, right? And once you do, there's really, you kind of feel invincible in a way that you feel like this is me. And, there's no doubt about it.
Tell us something about mural painting. How is it different from other forms of painting or art, let's say? What exactly is mural painting?
Sure. So my background has been in graffiti, and graffiti is it's an art form based on letters. And, it started in New York City by young people at a rebellion. And so they would paint really large pieces of like their name on trains, on walls. And so that's really what got me started. I was really interested in painting. Now murals are, graffiti pieces can be murals. Graffiti is mostly like letters. It's a very big emphasis on looking at letters as images. Murals are large paintings on walls. I think in terms of aesthetics, it really depends on the viewers, like who is viewing it. I think that's the beauty of art, that it's subjective, right? It's like something that I love might not be something that you love, and that's okay. Yeah. So a graffiti piece can be part of a mural. Mural is basically a really large work of art on like buildings and walls, and that's really large. So the aesthetics can really depend on the artist. It can be anything really. It can be a portrait. It can be someone's name really large. Yeah.
Allow me to ask this question. Is art emotion, expression, or devotion?
I think it's all of the above. I think it's so much of trying to express yourself in the most authentic way you know how. And I think without devotion, that is not possible because it takes so much to come to understanding who you are, and then even more to understand what you want to say, especially when you're given a platform. So I think I would say it's all of the above.
Any special reason for choosing the first alphabet?
Sure. So when I started realizing that I wanted to use Devanagari script to create my paintings, there was this sense of empowerment that I had. I was like, wow, this makes so much sense. It's amazing. And then, I used to try writing different words. But then when the pandemic hit, that was a difficult time for everybody, right? So, I wasn't painting outside. I was just in my apartment, and I came back to painting in a way where I was, I just wanted to feel sane. I just wanted to feel the comfort of maybe home. I was missing home so much. At that time, obviously, it wasn't a good time to come back home. So I was really turning to painting to find that comfort. And I was really thinking about, what is the essence of home? If I can't, is it just a physical space? And if it's not, then what is the essence of home? And one of the sort of like things that I thought about was home is like the same comfort that you have when you can run up the stairs of your home, even when the lights are out. During load shedding, every Nepali kid, you can go up and down your stairs.
They could do that because they know it.
Exactly. That's home, right? That's the comfort of home. That's the familiarity of home. And I wanted to capture that essence. And then I could only write ka. I found myself writing ka over and over again, just like a meditation. And then over time, I was just obsessed with, how I want to write it. And then after that, I was like, okay, now I want to write it the exact same way. Like, I'm pretty sure you can write ka with your eyes closed, Why? Because it's the first letter that we learned how to write. And it's the same as the comfort of home. So when I figured that out, I was like, yes, I just want to write this for now. And that's where, the repetition of like the letter Ka began. So.
What satisfies you the most? The price that your work fetches? The comment from critics? Or the relief that you feel after expressing yourself out?
That's a good question. I think it's the reason why I chose this job is because this is that one job for me that lets me be myself 100% real and be myself 100% in the most authentic way I know how. So if in a project I'm able to express myself 100% like that, that is what makes me really happy and satisfied. And yeah, and I think it's a powerful thing to be able to be yourself 100% of the time, every single day. And then over time, you also learn to be okay with yourself. So I would say, yeah, I think authenticity, my voice is what's most important to me, which is why I do what I do. So I would say that's what would make me more...
What is the best compliment you have received from somebody who loves art after having seen your work?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I think it depends on who says it. I think what jumps in my mind right now is when, like in Boston or even here in Kathmandu, when I meet young people and they say, I could really see what you're trying to do, what you're trying to show. Or like in Boston, there might be Nepali families who come and show, like parents, they show their kids, like, this is what it is and this is what she's trying to do and I'm not even around. I think that's the biggest compliment for me.
Let's go to mural painting again. Can you just walk us through the process from the concept, designing, and up to the wall? Can you just walk us through the process? How does it go?
Sure. So a big part of the mural, of creating a mural, especially a really large one, is the collaboration element of it. For example, my 6-story tall mural on the MIT building, that took a lot of collaboration. Even before the painting process began, we have to work with the city, permits, the local business district people, and then local stakeholders, people in the neighborhood. I think that's the part that's invisible, but that's the part that takes most time. Can we paint this wall? Is this wall stable to be able to be painted?
Once you're done with all the, let's say, legals and those sort of formalities, now it's time to conceptualize your vision on the field. How long does it take? Your MIT, let's say, mural we were talking about.
Yeah, I started by like taking photos of the wall, and then I also spend a lot of time in front of the wall to see how people walk around it. I want to see how people experience the wall, what the wall looks like at sunset, at sunrise, because my work is going to be there and I want it to have a good home. I want it to make sense. So it's a big part of it is understanding the environment that I'm in. And then I start, taking pictures, and then I'll print them, and then I'll sketch on the building, and then start the process.
Sneha is the first Nepali artist whose work has been acquired by 2 world-famous fine art museums. How does it feel, Sneha, to have that heavy cap over your head?
It's pretty exciting. I think it's, the Museum of Fine Arts, the painting that was acquired, it's in their permanent collection, and to think that it's going to be there long after I'm gone, for other Nepali people and people of various cultures to be able to see, I think that's a really powerful thing for me to realize. I think it's wonderful to be able to see a contemporary Nepali voice. I think it takes away from the mysticism, the stereotypical kind of box that Nepali people and Nepali culture is usually put into, especially in Western museums. We're seen as this culture of like ancient, of like past, but the truth is we're a living tradition, we're a living culture. We're people who practice all these things till this day. We're not just people of the past. I think it's important to leave behind such stories in important institutions like museums, and the other one is at the Harvard Art Museums. It's a sculpture that they acquired, and it's going to be on long-term view, and it's in their collection as well.
Fine art museums like Boston or Harvard, they are acquiring pieces from artists from Asia as well. Are they becoming more and more open to the international artists as well, or would, if I say that, I'd be just undermining your creative talent?
I think the world is globalizing, has globalized over time, right? And the US is a melting pot of various cultures. I do think there's a realization that there needs to be a representation for all these cultures that make up the country. And so it's an important time to be part of that conversation.
So you were the first to be from this country. Now, does that inspire you to work harder and you know, what's next am I going to do sort of thing? Does that give you more inspiration or make you more desperate?
It encourages me. It gives me a signal that I'm doing something right, and it feels right. And people from various parts of Nepal that I meet in Boston and other parts of the US, I feel encouraged by them when they see it. I think people who visited Nepal and are not necessarily Nepali see Nepal in my work, and that's a point of pride. It just gives me a green signal that I'm doing something right. And I'm motivated to keep going.
How does it feel to be the cultural ambassador of the country in the melting pot?
That's
around the world you're traveling now. How does it feel?
That's a huge phrase to take on.
You are, Sneha. You are the first artist from this country to be represented there. Not just represented, but acquired by those institutions. So that does give you the tag of being our cultural ambassador abroad.
I feel like it's important to carry on the work that I'm doing. I think it's important to share to younger people what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, so that maybe the younger generation can do it even better than I am doing it, and I hope that they do. I think it's so important to carry my people wherever I go, however the best I can. At the end of the day, I'm just one person, so hopefully there's more people who get the opportunity to do the same and represent, you know, their part of their Nepali life.
This is Declassified, and we are talking with Sneha Shrestha, contemporary Nepali mural artist, sculpture, graffiti-based artist, and a fusion artist. In the next part of the conversation, now we talk about the best works of Sneha. Which of the works that you have done so far is closest to your heart? I would be definitely not doing justice to you by asking this question. I know you are the creator. Everything is very, very dear to you. But still, if you have to pick one,
sure,
which one would you pick?
I mean, my mentor has always told me you're only as good as your last piece. And so I would love to talk about, you know, my most recent show at the Institute of Contemporary Art. These are pictures from the Institute of Contemporary Art where I'm currently exhibiting my work. It's part of the Foster Prize show. The Foster Prize is one of the most prestigious art prizes in Boston, and it's something that I've been eyeing for the past 6 years, and I've really wanted that prize really badly. And you know, you can't apply for it, you have to get selected for it. And when you get selected, you get to have the show at the Institute of Contemporary Art, and it's for Boston artists. And so to be selected for that felt incredible. And when something I wanted came to fruition, it was like, okay, it's time to do what you felt ready to do for a long time, is have sort of like this first solo museum show, and you get to show a big body of work.
How are you expressing yourself in these two pieces?
Sure, so these two pieces are part of that show at the Institute of Contemporary Art, the ICA in Boston. These two pieces are my first art-shaped paintings. These are 7 feet each, and they contribute to the architectural feel of the space. In this, you see fractals of the Devanagari script. So they're not necessarily words, but they're, if you looked at the alphabet really zoomed in really close, that's what you would see, in my opinion.
I can see Ka on the blue side of the canvas.
Yes. So like, you know, I call it like the shadow part. So if you think of an arch, that's sort of like the shadow part of the painting. That's where you see the repetition of Ka. And I brought the Ka there because my first painting acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts, that painting is a repetition of Ka over and over again.
Let's move on to the next one.
So this is the painting that was acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, and it so happened that when my mom was visiting me, it was on view, and so I got to take her there and, you know, show it, and her, you know, reaction just...
This must be very close to you. Ka there, your mother, Kalpana there, and you are the Imagine there. So this is a masterpiece,
This
I would
was
say.
a special moment for sure, and this was a painting I actually created in 2020 during that time that I told you about during the pandemic, you know. And the curator, Laura Weinstein at the MFA, recognized that, and she chose this as the painting to be acquired.
Probably this is the largest piece you have, of mural you have painted?
It's not the largest, but it is the tallest. It's about 60 feet tall, so like 6 stories. And it's in the heart of Cambridge, and it's at the confluence of various neighborhoods. You know, MIT is right there, so a lot of students get to see it. A lot of Nepali students at MIT have shown me you know, that they're there and like tagged me on it, which is super cool. Yeah.
You just do it all alone, right? Or you just need some helping hand to finish this piece?
No, I wish I could get a helping hand, but because it's my handwriting on the wall, I do it all myself.
So all alone, apart
Correct.
from the machinery that has been used, it's all you who has done it?
Yes, and I operate the machine as well. So the articulating boom lift that you see me here, I operate it myself. And my photographer was on the other end of it taking this photo.
Okay, this is how it looks once it's done.
Yeah, so for scale, you can see like the tiny people on the bottom.
So it's a really huge mural. Tell me something about this one. This I can clearly see Ka, your very dear Ka there. Tell me something. Where is it?
I think this is in Michigan. This was the moment where I really was dedicated to the letter Ka, and I felt confident enough to paint it so large and be able to tell people, you know, this is the first letter of the Nepali alphabet, and this is what it means to me. And so I feel like this moment was that moment where I felt like I have arrived. I'm so confident in telling people about this language that they know nothing about. But I felt, you know, that I could.
Tell us something about this one, Sneha.
Sure. So this is a sculpture. It's called Dwarpalika. This is the sculpture that was acquired by the Harvard Art Museums. It's currently on view. We actually just installed it before I left. And, you know, my parents were able to see it. And this is, you see the repetition of Ka. It's made out of brass and powder-coated steel. And yeah, it's sort of suspended from the ceiling, and it kind of has this aura about her. I call her because there's that energy that she has, and there's a environment that's like built around her because of the shadows that are laid on the floor. So it's a really special piece for me.
When the creator like you hand your piece of work to museums like this, how does it feel? Like shedding your skin or something like that?
It feels emotional because I remember the day that I packed this. You know, it takes a long time for acquisitions, for museum acquisitions to happen. And so when I recognized that it was the last day that I packed her up and dropped her off at this storage facility. It's like, you don't drop it off at the museum. So storage facility, and I just said, the next time I see her, she's going to be installed. And I definitely had a tear in my eye, and I was just like, wow, it feels like such a moment to kind of take in. And it's bittersweet for sure, because you work towards something for so long, and then it's going to be at this really important place for a very long time. It's definitely an important moment.
Sneha, let's talk about this one. This looks really, really large.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty large mural. It's in East Boston. It's by the water. Mm-hmm. So you can see it from the other shore of Boston. And it was this really special piece that I got to do, and I wanted to make sure that I did 3 circular shapes, because 3 is such a sacred number with everything that we do in our rituals and pujas and everything. And so I really wanted to talk about that. And it is, it's one of my largest works.
Fantastic. We're so much fascinating, these works, Sneha.
Thank you.
please allow me to do this, okay? Pick one of these pictures. Of all these pictures we have done and your sculpture we have displayed here, if you had to, okay, you can't escape this.
Okay.
Pick one only.
Okay. I think I would pick the Cambridge one. The Cambridge mural that you saw, the really tall one, because that tested me in different ways. That it's kind of like building a muscle, right? You're tested and there's pain, and then you grow stronger from it. I think it's one of those pieces. That's why it's so close to my heart. And also, you know, so many people have kind of, at this point, the mural kind of belongs to the city. It's not my work anymore. So many people attach their stories. So many people have gotten married in front of the mural, like take their wedding photos.
You must be a special guest in those ceremonies.
No, but I get sent these photos. You know, young Nepali students at MIT take selfies in front of it. I mean, it's really part of the city's DNA at this point. And so I'm really honored to have that work there.
Fantastic. The works of Sneha Shrestha, aka Imagine, some of her works. These are just some of the works that she has produced. There are so many things. She's working globally, working with multinational projects where she's working not only in the US but around the world. Now, last part of our conversation, Sneha, you are an inspiration to the youth. What message do you have for them? All those who want to pursue their passion and build a career out of it, or let's say pursue their passion only.
Sure, I would say take time to figure out what you want to do. It might not be as soon as you graduate high school. It might not be as soon as you finish your bachelor's degree. It's a process. I would say look at it as a process and make sure that you find joy in the process. And there's no really this end place that you get to that you'll find happiness in. I would say if you're happy in the process, then you're really closer to finding yourself. Figure out what is the most authentic version of you and kind of use that as a compass to pursue whatever you're pursuing. So the message here isn't go out and be an artist. The message is, you know, find out who you are and what you love doing. And that might not be your job immediately, but just finding something that you love doing is such an important part of being. So, yeah.
What message would you like to give to other youngsters who are looking up to you as inspiration?
I would say it's okay to be different. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to ask questions. And it's so important to have mentors. I think those are the things that I would love to share with younger people.
What is life, Sneha?
Life? I think it's a process. I think it's like this fun process that you get to like try different things out in. And yeah, I think that's what life is.
Striking a balance in life, how important it is.
I think it's so important to balance out. I think it's important, first of all, to find a compass of what guides you. For me, what guides me is my happiness, and that could mean in different ways. That means being able to see my parents as often as I want. That means being a good friend. That means building communities in both of my homes, in Kathmandu and in Boston. These are things that really kind of make my life, and kind of make things clear, like what are important to me, and that's my community, that's my friends and my family. And I think once you have that compass, everything kind of starts falling into place.
Last question to you, Sneha. Your career goals and your personal goals.
Sure. I think this sounds so, I'm not trying to boast it, but I think I'm living it as, you know, like career and personal goals. As an artist, it kind of melds into one thing. And I want to take both of them side by side. So if my career helps me express myself even better, that's amazing. Things that I might say no to, that might be, you know, for my personal life. And I think balancing those things is quite important. But both of that is still me. So I got to take both of them in a balanced way. So, yeah. Okay, so I have something that I brought for you. It's a sticker. And it has the first letter, Ka, on it. And it's something that I do for everybody that I meet. I give them a sticker. And the background for that is really, you know, when graffiti writers meet each other. We exchange stickers. Street artists, murals, we exchange stickers. And I really like to do that. And stickers, something, playful and a little bit of joy. So, yeah.
My privilege,
Sneha.
Sneha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful conversation with a Nepali contemporary artist who is definitely a world-class artist, Sneha Shrestha, whose name in itself is Imagine, that correlates to her roots, her mother. Thank you so much for watching this show, and definitely do follow us on our website, our social media handles. Until next time, from me and my entire crew of Declassified, bye-bye.
Votekosi and Trisuli river rafting. Rafting has lately been gaining popularity among tourists. The adventure sport, which previously was popular only among foreigners, is now drawing the local tourists as well. Trisuli and Votekosi rivers that are close to Kathmandu are two popular destinations for rafting in Bagmati province. Let us first explore Votekosi. Whitewater rafting at Votekosi river is included among the 10 best adventure destinations for rafting in the world. Votekosi, which is well facilitated with food and accommodation, can be a great destination for rafting and other adventure sports. Rafting at Trisuli river is popular among domestic tourists, as the location can be reached in an hour from Kathmandu. This is where most tourists go for rafting in Nepal. Rafting packages of Votekosi and Trisuli are appropriate for those who want to spend some good time for a few days. It is no more the remote far west, but the wonderful west. Nine districts are in the far west province, from the low-lying Tarai to the heightening mountains. Climatically, the province has all tropical weather conditions prevailing in Nepal. This makes the province a paradise for tourists of all interests. Khaptad, Badimalika, Api and Saipal mountains, Surmi and Ghodagodi lakes, Ramarosan area, Dodara Chandani, Sukla Fata Wildlife Reserve, Tikapur Botanical Garden, Amargari Fort. Dhangadi, the province headquarters, is the gateway to the state. The business hub of the far west region, Dhangadi, is becoming well equipped for political, trade and business infrastructures and other human resources. The far west region of Nepal is blessed with natural beauty. Any traveler is attracted by this epitome of beauty and a gift of Mother Nature. In addition to the natural beauty of the region, you can see the human civilizations rich in culture and arts throughout the province. The people of this region enjoy their unique lifestyle identified by their culture, language and religion. The Far West region has the wealth of nature, culture and religious uniqueness to offer to every traveler. Kaptard. The Kaptard National Park, spreading across 4 districts of Doti, Acham, Bajang and Bajura of the Far West province, is situated at an altitude of 3,000 meters above the sea level. The natural splendor and breathtaking views revealing geography's diversity is a sight to remember for every nature lover. This is the land of penance where Kaptard Baba lived for 50 years in his pursuit of knowledge and enlightenment. There are 22 Patans and the famous Triveni temple in Kaptard. The natural splendor of Kaptard area is attracting many domestic and foreign tourists by the day. Trekking in the Kaptard region is a lifetime experience, especially with the numerous species of birds, wildlife, flora and fauna in the numerous trails. Kaptard is the meeting point of 4 districts, Doti, Acham, Bazang and Basura, a chaste land of Kaptard Baba, an important place for religious tourism. Special prayers and worship are offered in the place during the famous Dasara fair, some of the major attractions in the region. Badi Malika. Situated 4,200 meters above the sea level, Badi Malika is a famous religious site in remote Bajura district of the Far West province. The annual fair on the occasion of Janai Purnima draws thousands of devotees at the Badi Malika temple. Lush green meadows, pure waterfalls, and whistling ravines flowing downstream are the major attractions of the natural wonder. Thousands of domestic and foreign tourists flock the temple every year during the fair and other times as well. Badi Malika is popular among people in the Far West and Karnali provinces. However, few people from Kathmandu and Gadwal of India also visit this site for pilgrimage. The famous pilgrimage site in Bajura district of Far West province, Badi Malika. There is a popular belief that offering worship to deity Badi Malika fulfills one's wishes. Large fair takes place every year on Janai Purnima. The Badi Malika temple on top of a hill. The 22 Patans, various species of flowers, panoramic view of the mountain range. Only a few small tea shops are seen as amenities in this area. One can reach Badimalika by taking a flight from Nepalganj to Kolti Airport of Bajura. Day-long drive from Kolti followed by 3 days of walk. Suklafata. Suklafata National Park is a world-famous destination for those interested in wildlife. The main attraction of the park is the large grassy meadows where the barasingers are seen in big numbers. The flock in the park is said to be the largest in the world. The park is home to 46 mammals, including endangered Bengal tiger, elephant, and anjir, and over 423 species of birds. The national park offers elephant ride and jungle safari to tourists as major recreational activities. The national park along Nepal-India border in Kanchanpur district is famous for watching wild elephants and barasingha, a heaven for wildlife enthusiasts. The attractions: grassy meadows, swamps and wetlands. Ramaroshan, located in Acham district of Nepal at an altitude of 2500 meters above the sea level. Ramaroshan is a jewel for tourists in the Far West province. A place having 18 patch of meadows, locally known as Patans, is a major tourism destination. The beautiful Ramaroshan Lake is the major attraction for tourists here. This area is the only habitat of national bird of Nepal, Daffy, or the Lophophorus. The rhododendron forest along the trails leading to the lake rejuvenates every traveler. Amargadi Fort. Amargadi Fort is a historic castle in Amargadi municipality of Danildura. This fort is an important site of historical, archaeological, political, religious, social and cultural aspects. The fort that witnessed the bravery of Kaji Amar Singh Thapa in the unification campaign of Nepal is strategically located at the top of a hill in the district headquarters of Darildura. General Thapa established his administrative headquarters in the fort itself during the unification campaign. This is an interesting site for researchers and archaeological explorers. Mostly domestic and Indian tourists visit this fort. The Far West province has dozens of existing and new tourism destinations. From a breathtaking mountain range to famous temples, the province has tourism destinations for all types of travelers to engage them for even a month. As many tourism destinations are in Far West province, so is the potential of the province. Most of the tourists in the province come for travel and research. However, lack of proper infrastructures discourage many enthusiasts. The Far West province has not been able to welcome desired number of tourists in the absence of the amenities. The number of foreign tourists entering Nepal via custom points in the Far West province has seen some increment of late. But most of them hardly spend a day or two there. After entering Nepal from Kailali or Kanchanpur, most of the tourists head towards the east for capital Kathmandu or Pokhara or some other destinations. After the centralized system of governance changed to federalism, the possibilities of development has increased with the full authority now in local levels. One immediate such possibility is the trekking trail. If only the 5 proposed tourism corridors, Khakrola, Tikapur, Karnali, Badimalika, Khutia, Bipinagar, Tel Lake, Khaptar, Dhangadi, Budar, Saipal, Mahakali River and Jhulaghat, Mursa can be developed as per provincial government's plan, it could contribute to the national mission of prosperity through tourism. Many other destinations can be developed into touristic sites to welcome domestic as well as foreign tourists. The artist's geography might be discouraging, but the nature has blessed the region with glory. This is why tourism can be the base for prosperity for Far West province. It is no more the remote Far West, but the wonderful West.
U.S. President Donald Trump delivered the longest ever State of the Union address on Tuesday, speaking for about 1 hour and 48 minutes and surpassing the previous record set in 2000 by President Bill Clinton. Trump highlighted domestic achievements including higher U.S. oil and natural gas production, the receipt of over 80 million barrels of oil from Venezuela, described as a new friend and partner, and what he described as massive tax cuts.
American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil.
President Trump also addressed broader economic and security themes, pointing to falling inflation, rising incomes, improved border security, and lower crime rates as indicators of national strength. In foreign policy remarks, Trump referenced negotiations with Iran and outlined positions on international security during the speech. Trump announced a new initiative he calls a war on fraud to be led by Vice President J.D. Vance, and framed his remarks as demonstrating a strong state of the union. Peru's interim president Jose Maria Balcazar has sworn in his cabinet at the government palace in Lima, appointing economist Denise Morales as prime minister, despite early indications he would select former presidential candidate Hernando de Soto. Morales, 49, previously served as economy minister under Balcazar's ousted predecessor and was joined by 6 other ministers retained from the previous government. New appointments include Hugo de Zella as foreign minister, Gerardo Lopez as economic minister, and Hugo Begazo as interior minister, with 5 of the 19 ministries headed by women. Balcazar will lead the country until July 28, following elections on April 12, when more than 27 million voters will choose a new president, deputies, and senators. The interim government is tasked with addressing economic management, organized crime, and political stability amid Peru's ongoing political fragmentation and chronic instability. Police in Sydney have arrested 2 men over the alleged kidnapping and murder of 85-year-old Chris Buxarine in what investigators believe was a case of mistaken identity. Detectives from the New South Wales Police Force carried out dawn raids in the city's northwestern suburbs, taking a 24-year-old and a 29-year-old man into custody. Buxarine was taken from his home in North Ryde on February 13, and his remains were found this week near a golf club on Sydney's outskirts after an extensive search. Commander Andrew Marks of the state's Robbery and Serious Crime Squad said he expects charges to be laid in connection with the kidnapping and murder, describing the case as a horrible crime against an innocent man. Police are investigating reports that the kidnappers had demanded a ransom of 50 million Australian dollars and may have intended to target another individual allegedly linked to criminal networks. Thousands of people gathered in London on February 24, 2026 to mark the 4th anniversary of Ukraine's war following Russia's full-scale invasion. The commemoration took place in Trafalgar Square, where participants paid tribute to those affected by the ongoing conflict. Attendees included members of the Ukrainian diaspora, local officials, and supporters expressing solidarity with Ukraine. The gathering featured speeches, moments of silence, and symbolic displays to honor the resilience of the Ukrainian people. Observers noted that such events continue to draw international attention as the war enters its 4th year. Rescue teams in Brazil are searching for bodies and survivors after torrential rains triggered deadly floods and landslides in the southeastern state of Minas Gerais. At least 25 people have been confirmed dead and 43 remain missing after a river burst its banks overnight, sending a wall of mud through neighborhoods in the cities of Juiz de Fora and Oba. Firefighters, assisted by sniffer dogs and volunteers, have rescued more than 200 people as search efforts continue in areas where entire houses were swept away. Local authorities say thousands have been displaced, schools have been closed, and some communities remain cut off following what officials describe as record February rainfall. The disaster follows a series of extreme weather events in Brazil in recent years, including catastrophic flooding in 2024 that affected millions in the country's south. Thousands of families in Indonesia's western province of Aceh remain displaced months after deadly monsoon floods struck Sumatra Island late last year. More than 1,200 people were killed across 3 provinces, with nearly 140 still missing, making it the worst disaster in the region since the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami that devastated Aceh. Around 26,000 survivors are still living in tents and temporary shelters as reconstruction efforts lag behind targets set by authorities, with fewer than 10% of promised permanent homes completed. President Prabowo Subianto has declined to declare a national disaster or seek international assistance, saying the situation is under control despite rebuilding costs estimated at over 51 trillion rupiah. As the holy month of Ramadan begins, many displaced families say they are relying on charity to survive, with frustrations mounting over delays, unfulfilled aid commitments, and limited progress in clearing mud-buried villages. Health authorities in Queensland have warned that hundreds of men may have been exposed to HIV and hepatitis C after an inmate in an adult male prison reported sharing needles while unknowingly infected. A Queensland health memo shows the potential exposure occurred between January and June last year, with around 300 people in the community now being contacted as a precaution. Officials say the broader community risk is low, and medical experts stress that both HIV and hepatitis C are treatable and that those affected should not face stigma. Nationally, more than 750 people were diagnosed with HIV in 2024, alongside over 7,000 hepatitis C notifications, with health workers noting a higher risk of hepatitis C transmission in prisons. The case has renewed debate over the absence of needle exchange programs and condoms in Queensland prisons, which authorities maintain are restricted due to safety and security concerns. Investors are closely watching results from NVIDIA, which is set to release its fourth quarter earnings after the close of trading on Wall Street. The U.S. chip maker, currently the world's most valuable publicly traded company, has been at the center of a global surge in demand for artificial intelligence hardware. Markets have been volatile in recent sessions, with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite under pressure amid tariff uncertainty and concerns about the broader impact of AI on legacy industries. Analysts say NVIDIA's update will be closely scrutinized for signals on AI chip demand, data center expansion, and forward guidance. The earnings release comes as investors assess the outlook for the technology sector and broader market momentum in the months ahead. The cast and creators of Young Sherlock gathered in London for the world premiere of the new series directed by Guy Ritchie. The show reimagines a 19-year-old Sherlock Holmes as an undisciplined student at Oxford University, exploring his early development before becoming the famed detective. Ritchie said he was particularly drawn to the dynamic between Sherlock and his future rival Moriarty, portrayed as a fiercely competitive yet formative presence in the young detective's life. The series delves into the origins of one of literature's most enduring rivalries, set against the backdrop of university life. The premiere marks the latest screen adaptation inspired by the iconic character created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. FIFA President Gianni Infantino says he has complete confidence in Mexico's ability to host matches at the upcoming World Cup, despite recent violence linked to the killing of a cartel leader. Speaking in Barranquilla, Infantino said he was reassured that preparations in Mexico remain on track for the tournament, which the country will co-host with United States and Canada from June 11 to July 19. The unrest followed an operation near Guadalajara that left at least 74 people dead during clashes between security forces and members of the Jalisco New Generation cartel after the reported killing of its leader, Nemesio Esiguera. Guadalajara, along with Mexico City and Monterrey, is scheduled to stage World Cup matches, although some football associations have said they are closely monitoring the security situation. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has stated there is no risk to fans and that conditions are gradually returning to normal as authorities maintain the tournament plans will proceed as scheduled.
Votekosi and Trisuli river rafting. Rafting has lately been gaining popularity among tourists. The adventure sport, which previously was popular only among foreigners, is now drawing the local tourists as well. Trisuli and Votekosi rivers that are close to Kathmandu are two popular destinations for rafting in Bagmati province. Let us first explore Votekosi. Whitewater rafting at Votekosi river is included among the 10 best adventure destinations for rafting in the world. Votekosi, which is well facilitated with food and accommodation, can be a great destination for rafting and other adventure sports. Rafting at Trisuli River is popular among domestic tourists, as the location can be reached in an hour from Kathmandu. This is where most tourists go for rafting in Nepal. Rafting packages of Votekosi and Trisuli are appropriate for those who want to spend some good time for a few days.
सदा भवानी दाहिन रे सदा भवानी दाहिन रे सिद्धन
The Tharu folk literature and folk cultural heritages reflect the prehistoric human civilization to the modern-day Tharu civilization. Khet Valley, with the increase of an ambience of coexistence with other communities. With the trend of migration rising, the Tharus were reduced to minority in their native land. Nonetheless, they were successful in retaining and conserving their cultural heritage that originated in the soils of Western Plains. The lifelong folk dance, traditions and festivities are the examples of their cultural preservation. The Tharus have successfully kept alive traditional practices, spirit, mutual unity and harmony, which are an eminent part of their lives today as well.
Tharus are the indigenous tribes of this place. We have our own typical cultural norms and values, including our own music and culture. Starting from the monsoon season, Tharus rejoice in their own cultural festivals that have their own traditional music. Agriculture is our main occupation, and we are known as hard-working people. Nepal is very rich in cultural diversity, but Tharu culture has its own uniqueness. I believe preserving Tharu culture could be a boon in developing tourism as well in this region. However, it is very important to preserve and promote Tharu culture, especially among the youths. Proper planning and programs to preserve and promote Tharu culture from the government We normally play the role of a facilitator in mediating whenever there are disputes among people of our community. The Matau or the local chief has to take the lead whenever there are accidents like death in our community. Sometimes there are disputes between people of different villages. The Matau needs to take the lead in settling them as well, almost like a judge. On cases of land proportion division to kamayas or the bonded leverers, people can give their opinion, but the final decision is taken by the Matau. In marriages also, the witness has to be the Matau. Later, if the couple has any problems, the Matau needs to be the one to settle their dispute.
The village senior or Agua, on the instruction of Mahatma, asks all the villagers to be present at Mahatwa's residence on the eve of Maghi. Khyala is the village council of Tharus, where every decision is taken in consensus of all sides. Tharus share a close bonding with nature, and their folk life exemplifies this connection. During the Maghi, they reach the jungles to pick the leaves and collect timber before dawn. Some go for fishing, as fish is the speciality of Tharu dishes. The male members of the community while the Tharu women get busy in cooking delicious dishes like tikri and making alcohol at home. This kind of cultural activities is not only a necessity, but also a higher degree of practice of unity. Songs can be heard playing in the background. Water-filled pots or kalash are placed by villagers on either sides of the road. as a gesture of extending greetings, while these footsteps return towards villages from rivers to the tunes of the music. Sprinkling the holy water of Kalash, a group of elderly reach the home of Mahatwa to extend greetings and for Maghi assembly. They take a seat after greeting him. Gardhuria, or the households, elect the new leader on this very day. The assembly concludes after reviewing the overall activities of the previous year and chalking out the new plans for the new year. This is followed by feast and dance. Women perform the traditional Tharu dance of Maghauta.
पर बद्रीबा तर धरतीबा एक भी लौटबानी करबे ना नहीं करूँ
On the wedding day, Diuli Darna, a special ritual is marked at the bridegroom's home. The Mahatwa robes a scarf on his head, which is called Pagya. The groom takes out Barchi from his native worship place, Duhar. Taking the Barchi is a symbol of war culture for the bride. While heading to the bride's home, the groom is offered sweet delicacies by his neighbors. The groom then sits on a dola, a wooden carrier, and reaches the bride's home. The bride's mother welcomes the groom with kalash on her hands and circumambulates the groom thrice. The sister-in-laws wash the feet of the groom. The wedding guests from the groom's side enjoy the feast. Tears well in the eyes of bride as she is bidden farewell by her family members. The bride is then carried on the dola to the groom's house. Bhojinya sprinkles rice grains on the yard. A pot full of fire is placed in front of the bride and groom. First the groom, then the bride steps on the fire and reach the duhar. Folk belief has it that stepping on the fire by the newlyweds means accepting each other, keeping the god of fire as a witness. The sisters of the groom then take certain amount as a gift and clear the way for the newlyweds. Bhojinya then receives them and collides groom's head with the bride's. Then she asks the bride to oil massage the groom's feet. After the feast, the celebration continues amid singing and dancing, performing traditional chokra and jhumra dance.
विशेषतः पश्चिम नेपालको थारू समुदायमा धेरैजसो
The culturally rich Tharu community of Western Nepal is backward in social and economic fronts. The government must come up with concrete programs to promote Tharu culture right from the local level to the international level. This can be a medium for the social and economic upliftment of the Tharu people. We have launched a campaign to preserve the cultural heritages of Tharu community in Dang, Banke, Bardia, Kailali, Kanchanpur and Surkhet districts.
The Nepali month of Chaitra and Baisakh, or the spring season, is the season of going to the jungles for collecting timber and fodder. The men and women together go to the jungles. They sing Sajana Maina Tharu folk songs while picking leaves or collecting timber. The word Sajana comes from the Hindi language and indicates the folk song has high amount of love and passion, while Maina is the folk song in which the lovers or a girl expresses her inner feelings, symbolizing the bird Maina as a medium.
तल जाइका
Dasai or the Dasya is the other important festival of the Tharus. The Tharus have a tradition of holding special worships for the deceased ancestors during this festival. The wife of the Mahatwa prepares a special kind of delicacy, dhikri, for offering it as a prasad or offering to the deceased ancestors. The Mahatwa at the worship place of his residence, Dewhar, have a tradition of putting on a white tika, and it is taken as a practice that began when colors were not created and as a symbol of peace. There is a culture of performing Sakhya and Paya dance from Krishnastami to Dasai in the Tharu culture. In the Sakhya dance, the male members playing the madal play the role of Krishna, while the female dancers role play Radha. Therefore, this dance is performed in two forms, Giti along with a song and a Giti without a song. This dance is performed in 22 musical beats. However, these beats are now in the verge of extinction.
Demonstrative art is an integral part of folk Tharu culture. Sakhya and Paiya folk dances performed during Dasai festival are some examples. It is believed that these folk dances have up to 22 different beats. However, today we hardly find musicians and dancers who can play or perform all these 22 different beats. Only limited beats are performed these days. This demands further research and preservation efforts. Likewise, the Tharu folk literature is equally rich in romanticism. They are found in abundance in Tharu folklores and songs.
The main occupation of Tharu is agriculture. They enjoy in the fields and prefer to toil there. They seek the base of their livelihood through agriculture. They are pursuing their life ahead by being close to the nature. The Tharus believe in traditional values, hence believe the Barka dance should be performed if natural disasters occur. The Mahatawa for the same calls village assembly or Khyala. The Barka dance is organized as per the decision of the Khyala. The Barka, that is a folk musical Tharu drama with Tharu folk philosophies, starts with pious steps of various gods and goddesses and concludes with a sequence of Kurukshetra war from the Mahabharata epic and the ascent to heaven. At the end of the dance, the dancers in guise of 5 Pandavas and Draupadi hide their weapons under the Shami tree, which is believed is a depiction of Pandavas going to the Virat kingdom during their incognito stay or the Agyatbas. As per the Tharu folk belief, keeping the akshata used in this dance with oneself will protect one from evil eyes and spirits and helps in curing various illnesses. There is a local belief that touching the bamboo pole that is a symbol of Shiva Lingam or the phallic symbol of Hindu god Shiva relieves oneself from various physical pains. The Tharu culture that is based on self-identity is at present on the verge of extinction. A generation gap is developing between the older and the younger Tharu generation. Changes are but natural. However, extinction of
Nepal's Election Commission ensures secure ballot transport and transparent voting as candidates intensify campaigns ahead of March 5 polls. 23,000 plus polling centres to be monitored by Nepal's Election Commission ahead of March 5 parliamentary vote to ensure transparency. Srinagar checkpoint in western Nepal witnesses parallel journeys as Nepalese return to vote or depart for employment overseas. Ministry of Foreign Affairs leads coordinated effort to free Nepalese detained in overseas online scams. Iran denies US President Trump's claims of missile development, reaffirms nuclear program remains peaceful. And FIFA chief Infantino confident Mexico can safely host World Cup matches despite recent cartel-related violence. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai, and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. With just 8 days to go, Nepal prepares for its national parliamentary elections scheduled for March 5. The Election Commission has said political parties and candidates are in full campaign mode, presenting their plans and commitments to voters. The Commission is closely monitoring all election activities to ensure fair play, warning that interference in campaigns could lead to fines of up to 200,000 rupees, up to 3 years in jail or both. Despite challenging weather, election materials are being transported across the country. In Mustang's remote Shanta village, where 39 voters are registered, roads blocked by snow are being cleared to deliver ballots securely. Officials also confirm that results from direct elections will be published within 24 hours of vote counting. The Election Commission has emphasized all preparations are in place for a safe and transparent vote. Nepal is stepping up security ahead of its parliamentary elections on March 5, with the government assuring that arrangements are in place for a peaceful vote. The Home Ministry has said around 150,000 election police have been mobilized, alongside 78,000 Nepali army personnel, 34,000 armed police and 2,000 National Investigation Department staff. Security provisions have also been made for candidates where necessary. Polling will take place at 10,967 locations with more than 23,000 polling centres nationwide, all under enhanced monitoring to ensure a free and fair election. We'll look into election security for March 5 polls in detail in our issue of the day later. As Nepal prepares for its March 5 parliamentary elections, Srinagar border point in Kailali is witnessing heavy cross-border movement. Long queues of Nepalese are seen at the open frontier with India, some returning home to cast their vote, others leaving in search of work. Officials say the flow reflects a familiar pattern in Sudur Pashchim province, where limited job opportunities continue to drive outbound migration, even during election period. More on this in our cover story later today. The Nepali government has stepped up efforts to rescue citizens trapped in organized online scams in Southeast Asia. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced that the rescue process is underway for 309 Nepalese, including those stranded in Cambodia. Earlier, Myanmar had sentenced 18 Nepalese involved in online scams to 1-year jail terms, and efforts are now underway to reduce their sentences and bring them home. Across Myanmar and 17 other nations, 495 individuals, including Nepalese, remain in detention. The ministry has said young Nepalese, often with foreign work experience, are lured with high-paying computer jobs only to face passport confiscation, forced detention and physical or mental abuse. So far, 392 Nepalese have been successfully rescued through coordinated efforts by the ministry and local embassies.
आउटरिच होस् भनेर चाहिँ हामीले यिनीहरूलाई सोसल मिडिया हाम्रो जुन ह्यान्डल्सहरू छन् सोसल मिडियामा पनि राखेका छौँ अनि फेसबुकमा अलिक बढी त्यसको बढी जान्छ भनेर चाहिँ फेसबुकमा पनि राखेका छौँ हामीले हाम्रो जुन फेसबुक अकाउन्ट छ त्यसमा पनि राखेका छौँ र त्यसले चाहिँ एकछिनले भिजिबिलिटी बढाएको छ.
Iran has strongly rejected claims by US President Donald Trump that it is developing missiles capable of striking American soil. Tehran called the allegations false and described repeated US accusations about its missile and nuclear programs as baseless propaganda. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai took to social media to deny claims regarding its nuclear program, ballistic missile development and reported deaths during unrest in January. Trump had earlier asserted that Iran is pursuing missile capabilities to reach US territory. Tehran reiterated that it has never sought nuclear weapons and that its nuclear activities are strictly for peaceful purposes. FIFA's president Gianni Infantino has expressed full confidence in Mexico's ability to host World Cup matches, despite recent violence linked to the killing of a cartel leader. Speaking in Barranquilla, Infantino said preparations remain on track for the tournament, which Mexico will co-host with the US and Canada from June 11 to July 19. The unrest followed a security operation near Guadalajara that left at least 74 people dead in clashes with Jalisco New Generation cartel. Matches are scheduled in Guadalajara, Mexico City and Monterrey, with local authorities assuring fans that conditions are stabilizing and all tournament plans will proceed as scheduled. 77 districts, one mission. Ensuring voters' ballots are safe. We're looking at the massive security net being cast for the upcoming elections. When we return with our issue of the day, stay with us. You're watching NTV World and this is News Hour. Welcome back. Time now for our issue of the day. The Ministry of Home Affairs has said security arrangements are fully in place for the upcoming parliamentary elections. Over 150,000 election police and other national security forces have been deployed across all 77 districts. We have a report.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has expressed confidence that the House of Representatives election scheduled for March 5 will be conducted in a peaceful environment, stating that security arrangements across the country have been fully strengthened. According to the ministry, nearly 150,000 temporary election police personnel have been mobilized. They are working alongside Nepal Police, the Armed Police Force, the Nepal Army and the National Investigation Department, with all security bodies placed on high alert and in full preparedness. Election activities are underway in all 77 districts across the 7 provinces. A total of 3,406 candidates are contesting under the first-past-the-post system for 165 constituencies, while 3,135 candidates are competing under the proportional representation system. Authorities say continuous coordination meetings are being held at district, provincial and federal levels to ensure that the elections are conducted in a free, fair, impartial and fear-free environment. Under the Integrated Election Security Plan, the government has deployed 78,000 Nepali Army personnel, 70,000 Nepal police officers, 34,000 armed police force personnel, 150,000 election police and 2,000 National Investigation Department staff. The ministry has also arranged security for candidates based on necessity and threat assessment, reiterating its confidence in the peaceful completion of the polls.
एक हप्ताको जस्तोको समयावधि बाँकी छ र यो समयावधिलाई पनि हामीले मध्यनजर गरेर र सँगसँगै निर्वाचनको दिन र निर्वाचन पश्चातका दिनका जुन हाम्रा अब निर्वाचन पश्चात जुन हाम्रो जुन गतिविधिहरू हुन्छन् विजयका जुलुसहरू हुन सक्लान् अथवा मतदान प्रक्रिया टुङ्गिने विषयहरू छन् यी सबै कुराहरूलाई हामीले हेरेर चाहिँ हाम्रो सुरक्षा योजना तयार गरेका छौँ र यही अनुसार चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ सुरक्षा कर्मीहरू चाहिँ अहिले कार्यस्थलमा खटिएर सो अनुसार गरिरहेको अवस्था छ। त्यसैले आजको दिनसम्म आइपुग्दाखेरि हामीले जुन समय सारिणी अनुसार हामीलाई कार्य सम्पादन गर्नुपर्ने थियो ती कामहरू भइरहेको अवस्था छ र अहिले जुन जिल्लामा साथीहरूले जुन काम गरिरहनु भएको छ त्यो काम गरेका कारणले नै हामीले अहिले शान्ति सुरक्षाको एउटा सुदृढ अवस्था चाहिँ एउटा कायम गर्न सकेका छौँ भन्ने लाग्छ।
Special security measures will be in place for polling stations, ballot box transportation and vote counting centers. According to the Election Commission, there are 10,967 polling locations and 23,112 polling centers across the country.
As Nepal ramps up nationwide security ahead of March 5 elections, Pachtar's 44-kilometer border with India has come under heightened vigilance. From remote hill outposts to high-risk crossings, thousands of personnel are deployed to ensure a peaceful vote. A report. Moving on, in Koshi province, authorities are stepping up monitoring along borders with India and China. Joint patrols have been agreed with Indian counterparts across roughly 428 kilometers of shared frontier, and the Nepal-India border will be closed from 72 hours before polling until midnight on election day. While the 258-kilometer border with China sees fewer risks, districts along the Indian border, including Chapa, Morang, Sunsari, Ilam and Pachtar, are under intensified vigilance. Officials say these measures aim to ensure safe and smooth voting across the province.
अब 21 गते भनेदेखि हाम्रो 18 गते 72 घण्टा अगाडि नै सीमा सिल हुन्छ र त्यो भन्दा अगाडि अहिले पनि चुनावको समय भएको हुनाले चेक जाँचहरूलाई अहिले कडाई जुन सीमामा रहेका युनिट त्यो चेकपोस्टहरू छन् त्यसमा एउटा संयुक्त गस्तीहरू गर्ने र हाम्रो पनि एउटा सबै सुरक्षा निकायको नेपाल प्रदेश सशस्त्र प्रहरी नेपाल अनि सीमा एरियामा संयुक्त गस्ती गर्ने भन्ने किसिमले अहिले यो सहमति भएको छ र त्यो अनुसार काम पनि भइरहेको छ।
As Nepal ramps up nationwide security ahead of March 5 elections, Pachtar's 44-kilometer border with India has come under heightened vigilance. From remote hill outposts to high-risk crossings, thousands of personnel are deployed to ensure a peaceful vote. We have a report.
Security has been tightened in Pachtar district along the 44-kilometer stretch of border shared with India. In view of the upcoming elections, armed police force personnel deployed at border outposts BOPs have increased border surveillance during the election period. Although the area is a remote and high hilly region, the open border allows regular movement between Nepal and India. With election activities underway, authorities have further strengthened security arrangements. Border points adjoining India's Sikkim and Darjeeling regions have been identified as high-risk areas, and monitoring has been intensified there throughout the election period. Chief District Officer Basudev Dahal said security personnel stationed at 4 BOP locations along the Indian border in place for the past 7 years have increased patrols and vigilance.
तर सबै जङ्गल क्षेत्र पर्ने भएको हुनाले त्यहाँबाट आउजाउ गर्ने त्यस्तो समस्या छैन। त्यसका लागि चाहिँ हामीहरूले अब नाका बन्द गर्नुपर्ने खालको समस्या छैन। त्यही पनि अवांछित क्रियाकलाप नहुन् भनेर हामीहरूले सशस्त्र प्रहरीका बिओपीहरूलाई त्यसमा तैनाथ गरेका छौँ। भनेदेखि निर्वाचनको समयमा निर्वाचन हुनुभन्दा 48 घण्टा अगाडि सबै सीमा नाकाहरू बन्द गरिनेछन्। यद्यपि हाम्रो जिल्लामा त्यस्तो मान्छे आवत जावत गर्ने खालको सीमा नाका छैन।
In Pasthar's 8 local levels covering 60 wards, there are 102 polling locations with 180 polling centres. Of these, 28 are classified as highly sensitive, 64 as sensitive, and 10 as normal. To ensure peaceful elections, 1,226 election police personnel have been deployed there. Additionally, 500 Nepal police officers, 200 armed police personnel and the Nepal Army are on standby as needed, according to security officials. A total of 1,080 staff will be mobilized at polling centers across the district. The district election office reports that Pasthar has 143,408 registered voters for the election scheduled for March 5.
Nepal's Election Commission has announced special arrangements for tourist transport on polling day for the House of Representatives elections. According to spokesperson Naren Prasad Bhattarai, vehicles carrying tourists can operate if permission is obtained at least 2 days in advance from district administration offices or the commission in Kathmandu. The guidelines allow movement of authorized vehicles on highways while maintaining order, and exceptions are made for essential services, diplomatic missions and the Human Rights Commission. National and international flights will also continue as scheduled, ensuring minimal disruption for travellers on election day. Ballot papers and election materials are now in place across Nepal as the country heads into the final days before the March 5 elections. The Election Commission has said preparations are almost complete, with 20 million ballots printed for first-past-the-post seats and 28 million for proportional representation. April Kising Lama looks at what's set for the polls.
With just 8 days to go, the Election Commission says preparations are in the final phase. Election materials and ballot papers have been sent to 75 of 77 districts. Kathmandu and Bhaktapur will receive theirs on Thursday. Both first-past-the-post and proportional representation ballots are ready. Altogether, 20.03 million ballot papers have been printed for the first-past-the-post election category, with 28.30 million for PR system of election. In remote mountainous regions, including election materials, ballot papers, voter lists, ink markers and security seals were airlifted by Nepal Army aircraft to reach isolated polling centers. The Election Commission is monitoring election publicity and complaints of campaign disruptions. The Election Code of Conduct is in force. Candidates, parties and affiliates must not disrupt programs, rallies or meetings. Voter education campaigns continue nationwide to inform citizens about the voting process and their rights, while parties carry on with active campaigning. With logistics almost complete, the focus now shifts to implementation and enforcement. The coming week will test how smoothly the system operates and whether the code of conduct is upheld. Nepal moves closer to March 5, with the Election Commission keeping a close watch to ensure a fair and orderly election, and results are expected quickly after voting concludes.
A nation on the move. As the election draws near, the Trinagar checkpoint becomes a stage for thousands of different journeys. We explore the human side of this historic vote in just a moment. Welcome back to News Hour here on NTV World. Time now for our cover story of the day. As election date approaches, the Trinagar border in Kailali hums with movement. Some crossed with ballots in mind, others with belongings, jobs or opportunity. This same checkpoint witnessing journeys of hope and necessity, each step telling a story of a nation in motion. Rojina Rai with our local correspondent Dinesh Bista reports.
Early in the morning at the Trinagar custom checkpoint in Kailali district, Nepal's open border with India, a long line of young men and women stretches as far as the eyes can see. Each of them carried a bag on their shoulder, their faces marked by exhaustion and determination. The lines at the border reflect a coexistence of journeys. Some Nepalese are crossing to return home and vote in the national election, while others are leaving the country in search of work and survival. Previously, most migrant workers returned only during festivals, but this year is different. Some have come back specifically to cast their vote in March 5th election. Despite years of hard work in a foreign land, they carry hope that their vote might bring change to the country they call home. For them, the election is a chance to choose leaders who could create the opportunities they have long been denied.
विशेष चुनावी माहौलमा देशको परिस्थिति देख्दाखेरि हामीलाई पनि परिवर्तन भएका साथीहरूलाई पनि केही अब देशमा हुन्छ होला परिवर्तन हुन्छ होला भनेर हामी अब पर्वतबाट अहिले चुनावी माहौलमा सुदेश बसिरहेका.
Yet alongside hope there is frustration. Those heading to India whisper to themselves, hunger is greater than voting. This is the reality for many Nepalese from Sudur Paschim province whose stories are mirrored across the nation. For years, they have traveled to Indian cities, taking on labor-intensive jobs to support their families. The open border, geographic proximity, and limited opportunities at home leave them little choice but to seek work abroad. Many young Nepalese leaving the country and a family behind speak of the same struggles: unemployment, lack of industries, and limited economic opportunities. They lament political promises of job creation are plentiful during election campaigns, but real change has been slow in coming. As Nepal heads to the polls on March 5th, Trinagar stands as a quiet witness to two parallel journeys, one toward the ballot box and another toward opportunity abroad. Rojina Rai with local correspondent Dinesh Bista from Kailali reporting for NTV World.
And in this context, we asked Nepalese at the Trinagar border, leaving for work abroad, about their thoughts on the upcoming elections. Here's a look at what they had to say in our Public Pulse segment.
चुनावमा जिताएर पनि त्यो बेलाको नेताहरू केही गरेन अहिले भोट दिएर के फाइदा केही हुनेवाला छैन नेपाल यहाँको लागि त अहिले नेपालमा हाम्रो रोजगार पनि यही नेपालमै होस् भन्ने एउटा चाहना छ अब बाहिरतिर बसेर कति बस्ने मुलुकहरु खाडी मुलुकमा आफ्नै ठाउँमा केही गरेर काम गर्ने हो भने राम्रो हो त्यो नेताहरूले अब गरिदिनु पर्यो
बाध्यता पर्यो त्यही भएर राम्रो काम गर्नु पर्यो उनको लागि धन्यवाद
के गर्ने सर नेता नेपालमा बेरोजगार छ जानु परिहाल्यो उता
अब पुरै हैन अब हामीले त अब विदेश नै जानु परिरहेको छ हैन किनभने अब कोसँग आफूसँग जति दक्षता हैन क्षमता अनुसार भन्छ क्यापेसिटी भइरहेछ हैन त्यो अनुसार हेर्ने हो भने त नेपालको अवस्था हेर्ने हो भने त हामी पुरै नेपाली दाजुभाइहरूले विदेश नै जानु परिरहेछ त्यसको लागि पनि व्यवस्था गरिदिनु पर्यो हैन नेपालमा के अब आफ्नो दक्षता भ्याएसम्म आफ्नो क्षमता अनुसार जुन आफूसँग क्यापेसिटीहरु छ त्यो अनुसारको जागिरी हैन जब जागिरी चाहिँ नेपालतिर पाउनु पर्यो भन्ने हाम्रो
त्यस्तै हो गरेका छौं हल्का पहिले भन्दा देखिन्छ त्यस्तो पनि नेपालमा बस्ने रोजगारीहरू गरिदिएको भए
सामान्य काम त्यस्तै कुरा रोजगारी मिलोस् भन्ने कुरा हो
That was our cover story of the day. In other news, on February 24th, Nepal's cabinet approved the 16th Plan Implementation Action Plan. Government spokesperson and Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal announced that following the Judicial Council's recommendation, promoted 2 undersecretaries in the judicial service. The cabinet also approved the transfer and promotion of senior officers in the Nepali Army, extended the mandate of the Commission reviewing Supreme Court orders on the transport sector, and confirmed that medical costs for security personnel injured during elections will be covered, with financial support for families in case of death. Likewise, tax exemptions have been granted for the Kathmandu Ring Road Improvement Project funded by China, and the 10th National Games will be held after parliamentary elections at a suitable time.
16औं योजना कार्यान्वयन कार्ययोजना स्वीकृत गर्ने नेपाललाई OECD ग्लोबल फोरम अन ट्रान्सपेरेन्सी एन्ड एक्सचेन्ज अफ इन्फर्मेसन फर ट्याक्स पर्पस को सदस्यता लिन स्वीकृत प्रदान गर्ने, चीन सरकारबाट प्रतिनिधि सभा सदस्य निर्वाचनको लागि प्रदान गर्ने प्रस्तावित $4 मिलियन अमेरिकी डलर बराबरको नगद अनुदान सहायता स्वीकार गर्ने, चालू आर्थिक वर्षको वार्षिक बजेट तथा कार्यक्रममा उल्लेख भए बमोजिम बुढी गण्डकी जलाशय युक्त जलविद्युत आयोजनाको वित्तीय लगानी ढाँचा स्वीकृत गर्ने, बीमा ऐन 2079 को दफा 140 बमोजिमको कसुर सम्बन्धी मुद्दाको कारबाही र किनारा गर्न नेपालका 77 वटै जिल्ला अदालतलाई तोक्ने।
Nepal's Foreign Minister Balananda Sharma held courtesy meetings with 2 visiting envoys. China's ambassador to Nepal, Chang Maoming, discussed bilateral relations and areas of mutual cooperation with the minister. Today also, Ishad Azim, non-resident ambassador of the Maldives to Nepal, also met Minister Sharma to explore various aspects of Nepal-Maldives relations. Both envoys had earlier presented their credentials to President Ramchandra Podal on Tuesday. Now, while Kathmandu's outdoor AQI recently spiked to 191, ranking it as the 3rd most polluted city in the world, health experts warn that the air inside our homes often poses a more direct threat to our lungs. Trapped pollutants from cooking fuels, chemicals and poor ventilation can be up to 5 times more concentrated than outdoor air, leading to chronic respiratory diseases and stunted lung growth in children. Sabika Shrestha brings us more.
While the winter smog blanketing the Kathmandu Valley frequently captures public attention, health experts are issuing urgent warnings about a more intimate danger, the air inside our homes. Recent data from global health authorities indicates that indoor air pollution contributes to millions of premature deaths worldwide every year. In Nepal, this crisis uniquely spans both rural and urban divides. In many rural communities, the continued reliance on traditional biomass fuels such as firewood and agricultural waste for cooking creates highly toxic indoor environments. Conversely, in rapidly urbanizing areas, tightly sealed modern apartments trap chemical pollutants from synthetic furnishings, cleaning products, and gas heaters, creating a dangerous and invisible cocktail of toxins. Medical professionals caution that the air inside our homes can often be significantly more polluted than the air outside.
In the kitchen, when we are cooking food, the firewood or the gas or the petroleum that is being combusted releases a lot of particulate matters. Also, when we are cooking food, the vapors or the things that emerge out of the cooking utensils also contribute to the particulate matter. Similarly, apart from the kitchen also, when we are living underground, then in the underground areas or when there are crevices in the home, that is a source of radon, that is a potential carcinogen leading to the lung cancer in long term. Our storeroom, which is almost unattended, then we are likely to find a lot of molds in such places. So that mold can also produce some hypersensitivity reactions, and then we are prone to allergic diseases.
In colder months, closed windows trap indoor pollutants like PM2.5 and VOCs.
When inhaled, they reach deep into the lungs, cause inflammation, and over time can enter the bloodstream, leading to serious and sometimes permanent health problems. Pulmonologists are seeing more cases of COPD in non-smokers, mainly due to long-term exposure to kitchen smoke and poor indoor air quality. Invisible pollutants such as mold spores, pet dander, and nitrogen dioxide from unvented gas stoves can also trigger and severe asthma attacks. For young children who spend most of their time indoors, the risks are even greater. Continuous exposure can slow lung development and increase the chances of serious infections like pneumonia, which is still a leading cause of child deaths in Nepal. This indoor vulnerability is further exacerbated by the worsening outdoor air quality. When outdoor levels are high, pollutants inevitably seep into homes, compounding the risks already present from indoor sources.
Long-term impacts of the air pollution is that the tiny particles which we name as particulate matter, the size of the particulate matter being, if the size of the particulate matter is less than 2.5 micrometers, then it can get easy access to the circulation via lungs, and once it gets into the circulation, it has detrimental effects all over the body, reaching the brain, heart, kidneys, pancreas, and almost every organs of our body.
Environmental scientists and public health officials are urging the public to take immediate practical measures to safeguard their health. Simple everyday actions such as ensuring proper cross ventilation during hours when outdoor pollution is lower, running exhaust fans while cooking, and promptly fixing damp areas to prevent mold and drastically reduce lung exposure. Furthermore, the ongoing national push to transition households toward clean electric cooking technologies such as induction stoves is being campaigned as a vital step in eradicating the burden of household air pollution. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Police in Nepal have arrested 2 more individuals involved in a fake rescue scam targeting foreign tourists in the country's high Himalayan regions. The Central Investigation Bureau has said trekking companies and aviation sector personnel were exploiting emergency situations, fabricating documents to claim insurance payouts. Companies such as Mountain Rescue Service, Everest Experience and Assistance, and Nepal Charter Service allegedly prepared false rescue certificates and medical reports, including fake hospital admission and discharge records in Kathmandu. The arrests include tourism entrepreneur Sandeep Tiwari and former Vice President of Nepal Aviation Operators Association Rajendra Bahadur Singh. Authorities continue to investigate illegal activities in Nepal's trekking and mountaineering sectors. Tribhuvan University has climbed international rankings, earning higher positions across multiple global university lists. At a press conference, Vice Chancellor Professor Deepak Aryal highlighted the university's efforts to improve standards and quality in higher education. This year, Tribhuvan University is ranked in the 1501 group by Times Higher Education, 10th in US News rankings and 165th in Center for World University Rankings. Professor Aryal said the recognition is a matter of pride for Nepal and reaffirmed the university's commitment to raising the standard of higher education nationwide through ongoing reforms and quality initiatives. Now, Nepal and China's educational and cultural ties at the community level have deepened over the past years, marking the first anniversary of a memorandum of understanding between Nepal's National Indigenous Peoples Commission and China's National Ethnic Affairs Commission. Speakers highlighted strong cultural and educational exchanges. Minister for Land Management and Poverty Alleviation, Kumar Innam, noted that the relationship between communities in both the countries has grown closer, while Indigenous Commission Chair Ram Bahadur Thapa Magar said the agreement has strengthened cultural diversity exchanges. China's consular chief in Nepal, Queen Wenxi, added that China prioritizes promoting Nepal's rich ethnic and linguistic diversity. The MOU was signed exactly 1 year ago, fostering continued collaboration in education and culture. Time now for international update, but before that, a quick recap of the headlines. Nepal's Election Commission ensures secure ballot transport and transparent voting as candidates intensify campaigns ahead of March 5 elections. 23,000 plus polling centres to be monitored by Election Commission ahead of March 5 parliamentary vote to ensure transparency. Srinagar checkpoint in western Nepal witnesses parallel journeys as Nepalese return to vote or depart for employment overseas. Ministry of Foreign Affairs leads coordinated effort to free Nepalese detained in overseas online scams. Iran denies US President Trump's claims of missile development, reaffirms nuclear program remains peaceful. And FIFA chief Infantino confident Mexico can safely host World Cup matches despite recent cartel-related violence. US President Donald Trump delivered the longest ever State of the Union address on Tuesday, speaking for about 1 hour and 48 minutes and surpassing the previous record set in 2000 by President Bill Clinton. Trump highlighted domestic achievements, including higher US oil and natural gas production, the receipt of over 80 million barrels of oil from Venezuela, described as a new friend and partner, and what he described as massive tax cuts.
American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil. Large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
Trump also addressed broader economic and security themes, pointing to falling inflation, rising incomes, improved border security, and lower crime rates as indicators of national strength. Towards foreign policy remarks, Trump referenced negotiations with Iran and outlined positions on international security during the speech. He also announced a new initiative that he called a war on fraud to be led by Vice President J.D. Vance and framed his remarks as demonstrating a strong state of the union. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Israel for a two-day visit, his first since the war in Gaza began. During his stay, Modi is expected to address the Knesset, Israel's parliament, and meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Isaac Herzog. No meetings with Palestinian leaders are on his schedule. The visit highlights growing ties between India and Israel in defense, technology, and trade. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has arrived in China, marking his first official visit to the country's largest trade partner and a major high-tech competitor. Merz is accompanied by a significant business delegation and is scheduled to hold talks with President Xi Jinping. The visit will include a formal dinner and discussions aimed at strengthening trade relations, technology cooperation, and addressing economic and geopolitical challenges between the two nations. Business updates coming up next. For now, a short break.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has arrived in China for his first official visit since taking office, with talks expected to focus on trade and security. Merz is leading a large business delegation as he visits Germany's largest trading partner and a key competitor in advanced technologies. Merz is scheduled to hold discussions and a working dinner with Chinese President Xi Jinping during the trip. The visit comes amid efforts by Berlin to balance economic ties with Beijing while addressing concerns over supply chains and strategic industries. Officials say the meetings will also touch on broader geopolitical issues and economic cooperation between the two countries. South Korea's benchmark cost-per index surged past the 6,000-point mark for the first time on Wednesday, driven by strong gains in the country's semiconductor sector. Shares of Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix rose in early trading following record profits reported earlier this year amid rising global demand for artificial intelligence technology. Both companies are leading global suppliers of advanced memory chips, including high-bandwidth memory components widely used in AI systems and data centers. A worldwide expansion of AI infrastructure has accelerated orders for high-performance semiconductors, boosting South Korea's export outlook. The government has pledged to triple national spending on AI this year as it seeks to position the country alongside the United States and China among the world's top artificial intelligence powers. Iconic props from major Hollywood films, including the Skywalker lightsaber from Star Wars, The Force Awakens, the Marauder's mat from the Harry Potter franchise, and the harpoon gun from Jaws are set to go under the hammer in Los Angeles next month. Auction house prop stores said around 1,550 pieces of film and television memorabilia will be offered over 3 days beginning March 25, with a combined pre-sale estimate of $9 million. Highlights include a fiberglass C-3PO head worn by Anthony Daniels in Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and a jacket used in The Terminator. Selected items will be displayed publicly ahead of the sale at the Peterson Automotive Museum and at the Mayborn Beverly Hills Hotel. Organizers say growing international participation, particularly through online bidding, is driving increased engagement in the global market for screen-used collectibles. Investors are closely watching results from NVIDIA, which is set to release its fourth quarter earnings after the close of trading on Wall Street. The U.S. chip maker, currently the world's most valuable publicly traded company, has been at the center of a global surge in demand for artificial intelligence hardware. Markets have been volatile in recent sessions, with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite under pressure amid tariff uncertainty and concerns about the broader impact of AI on legacy industries. Analysts say NVIDIA's update will be closely scrutinized for signals on AI chip demand, data center expansion, and forward guidance. The earnings release comes as investors assess the outlook for the technology sector and broader market momentum in the months ahead.
And with that, we move on to sports update. The International Cricket Council has released its latest T20 international player rankings, with Nepal's all-rounder Dipinder Singh Airi retaining fourth position in the all-rounder category. Airi scored 169 runs and claimed 2 wickets for Nepal during the recent ICC T20 World Cup, performances that analysts say helped him maintain his ranking. However, he has slipped 1 position in the batting rankings. Zimbabwe's Sikandar Raza has climbed to the top of the T20I all-rounder rankings with 294 rating points. Pakistan's Saim Ayub has dropped to second, while India's Hardik Pandya remains third. Afghanistan's Azmatullah Omarzai is ranked fifth. In the batting rankings, India's Abhishek Sharma holds the top spot, followed by England's Phil Salt, Pakistan's Sahibzada Farhan, Sri Lanka's Pathum Nisanka, and India's Ishan Kishan in fifth position. The All Nepal Football Association (ENFA) has announced the preliminary squad for the upcoming SAF Under-20 Championship. The tournament is scheduled to be held in the Maldives this year. On Wednesday, ENFA called 35 players for a closed training camp. The squad includes players such as Alex Shrestha, Anubhav Puri, Bhakta Bahadur Pariyar, Vijay Urao, Bigyan Khadka, Vinayak Tharu and Darshan Adhikari. The association has said the training camp aims to fully prepare the team for the competition. Now the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then around the world. And before we wrap up this edition of News Hour, here's a look at the headlines once again. Nepal's Election Commission ensures secure ballot transport and transparent voting as candidates intensify campaigns ahead of March 5 elections. 23,000 plus polling centres to be monitored by Nepal's Election Commission ahead of March 5 parliamentary vote to ensure transparency. Srinagar checkpoint in western Nepal witnesses parallel journeys as Nepalese return to vote or depart for employment overseas. Ministry of Foreign Affairs leads coordinated effort to free Nepalese detained in overseas online scams. Iran denies US President Trump's claims of missile development, reaffirms nuclear program remains peaceful. And FIFA chief Infantino confident Mexico can safely host World Cup matches despite recent cartel-related violence. That is all for the moment here on News Hour. Do join us through our social media and also get the latest update from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Good night.